clip. But basically, Jason was saying, what's Cece saying? Come on, Scott. How could you flip so quickly from the Eagles to the Chiefs?
Yeah.
He said, don't let my brother's devilishly handsome good looks sway you from your team.
All right now. That's what he says. That's what Travis Kelce literally said to that. All right now.
He said, all right now.
All right now.
He did. The clip.
Google search, Brett Favre pre-snap call.
Yeah, there's videos that are popping up, but I'm not going to obviously.
Well, I'm kind of curious if you can hear what it is.
All right, hold on. There might
I
be
feel like
ad.
they had the same cadence.
Well, see, that's Minnesota. That's Minnesota. Do we want to go Minnesota Favre? That's the first one that pops up.
I don't know if Minnesota Favre is the same as Green Bay Rodgers.
Well, I think that was a blue 58. Was that a blue 58? Let's try
it
to get
sounded like
on.
a blue 58. Blue 58.
Yeah, see, not the same. Well, that's in Minnesota.
Well, that's
though.
Minnesota,
So maybe
though.
he changed it to blue 58 once he got there.
You think it's a quarterback thing and
I
not
do.
a system coach thing?
I think it's a quarterback thing. Whatever
Really?
you're comfortable saying to get the team ready.
So some quarterbacks just copy the previous quarterback?
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, there's only so many colors. Like, there's not a lot of orange. You don't hear a lot of orange out there. Not a lot of yellow. Not a lot of pink. Not a lot of purple.
Yeah.
A lot of greens. A lot of reds. A lot of blues.
Here we go!
And then your numbers are usually pretty similar. So there's not a lot of options to go with, which is, to your point, why Cam Newton was a little underrated. He changed the whole thing up and just said ready.
I put this on the show sheet. I don't know where or if we'd even get to it today. I don't know if this would be up your alley. But do you remember a few months ago we were talking about sports tickets? And we had found out that the F1 race in Vegas was the most expensive sports ticket of all time.
I do remember this was going to be like the biggest deal in the history of sports.
They were charging hotel rooms with any kind of view of the race they were charging people anywhere from $900 a night to a basic standard room to $400,000 per night for like a suite with a better view of the racetrack than everybody else.
Yeah.
Have you followed what's happened?
I saw a tweet yesterday from, is it Arash Makarzi? What's the journalist?
Oh, in L.A.
Yeah. He's covering it. I don't know who he writes for now, but he's covering it. And he went as like a last second experiment to see like, how bad is this? I want to go to Vegas and I want to follow this. He took his wife with him. The prices have cratered so much that he booked a hotel in, I believe, the Flamingo, which has a central location to the track.
It's got a view of the racetrack.
A window that looks out on the track.
Yes.
He booked the hotel for $18 last night.
That same room was $900 a year ago.
$18. He was like, do his live tweeting. He went to restaurants that are along the strip, and there's just nobody there. He went to, I think it was like an Outback Steakhouse that has a view of the track, and he said it's so empty that they were going to close early. And they had planned on this being one of their biggest business nights of the year.
I have no disrespect towards that establishment, but what I would say is, like, that's where you went to go. Like, that was your choice to go eat at.
He's a journalist. You know, we know how much money people in media make. He's going
Although
Outback.
that meal's going to get comped. Get
He's had
outta
a bloomin'
here.
onion. Come on, he's happy.
I haven't had a bloomin' onion in 15 years, man.
I don't think I've been to Outback Steakhouse since high school.
I had it once when I was roofing with my uncle. He loved it. So we'd go there for dinner once in a while.
Go get a ribeye.
God, I'd get steak, mashed potatoes, a bloomin' onion. It was great.
We did that. We had like a high school baseball trip down to Phoenix or Arizona or whatever, like my sophomore or junior year. We went. That was our nice dinner out with the team to Outback Steakhouse.
Dude, once upon a time, Dirt, Sizzler and Outback Steakhouse were the top-end restaurants of my life.
It was high quality right there. High quality.
Tony Roma's was like
Yeah.
always the one, oh, we can't afford Tony Roma's.
Feeling like some Italian tonight? You want some Olive Garden, huh? Your family there.
Yeah.
Get some breadsticks.
Yeah, that's
unlimited
true.
salad bowls.
It's pretty amazing, though. There was a guy that he's a super rich dude, obviously. He booked the hotel for $400,000 a night.
Imagine.
When he got to his room, the hotel's thank you for doing this were 3 macaroons.
Like the little cookies?
Yes.
Yeah, little
Okay.
cookie treats.
Yeah.
Just 3 of them.
And
And
if
it said, thanks for being here.
You imagine spending $400,000 on something that you could have spent $150 on this week?
This
Did you see the first practice session got canceled 8
Yeah,
minutes in?
the
'cause they
manhole
had a
cover.
loose drain cover.
It hit a car and the
Yikes.
car drove by. It was like just sparks everywhere. It was dangerous.
Holy hell.
I don't know what happened here. I don't know who way over calculated this whole situation, but this went from the most prestigious sports event to ever exist
Yes.
to very bottom of the barrel.
Like, this is awful.
What happened?
I don't know.
Because I saw the Arash story.
Uh-huh.
I've seen the clips on Twitter of the manhole cover. Hold on, Gunderson alerted me to this yesterday. I don't know what happened or when it happened, but this became the sports version of NFTs. It's just worthless. Everybody that spent all that money just
plummets
right
in
down the
value.
drain. Yes, no value.
That was kind of a bad idea. We probably shouldn't have spent our money on that. I don't know. Like, is F1 just done with like? Are we just done with F1? Have we moved on?
Well, here's my thing on F1. Okay?
F1 had its moment when that show on Netflix was hitting.
Yeah.
The races were like
Race.
It was a big deal.
No, I think the races are still a big deal. Like you get international celebrities of A-list celebrities from all sorts coming, and the fact that it is in Vegas, it'll be a big deal. But I think the nationwide hype in America has died down a bit.
Do you think the race is still a big deal, but we've just not cared
Are
anymore?
the TV ratings there? Like, are people watching?
I think so. It'll be
Okay.
interesting to see because this is going to be a night race.
I think so,
Normally,
it's not a yes.
That's not a yes. No, it's not.
It's not a
Well-
no, but it's not a yes.
I'm gonna look up F1 ratings now.
Well, here's the problem with the sport. You want the
a
take?
lot of the
Yeah.
international races are like in the middle of the night here, or
No,
at like
sure.
3 in the morning.
The problem with the race here in America, the same guy wins this damn race every
That's
time.
not helping F1 right
Verstappen
now.
wins every race.
They got one dude who's just dominating the sport.
I think he won
Yes.
like 10 straight races.
that's a little stupid.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what am I tuning in for? I don't want to watch that.
Let me guess, who's gonna win? I already
Oh,
know the answer.
He's got the fastest car. Shocking.
Well, the courses are fairly
When you
narrow,
say
and
no
with all
skill?
the turns of a road course, there's very few opportunities to pass the way there is in NASCAR, where they're going around in a circle. All it's
Yeah.
basically, and they've got the cars
And
now.
drafting.
They're
and-
drafting and
Shaking and baking.
wrecking and all that sort of
That's
stuff.
why I don't like the Portland race. I think that one sucks.
We got one out at PIR, don't we?
Whatever. We have two different
We have
versions.
2 different
They're
weekends.
awful.
The
Whenever I play Heron Lakes, I always hear them. They're always
Yeah.
racing over there.
Road racing to me with those level of cars is not entertaining at all.
Mm.
Road racing with goat karts, I'm in. You can pass anybody. It gets a little squirrely.
Yeah,
But you can't go past a certain speed when you're just constantly doing these turns and weaving. And
I'm
it's
with
just,
you on that.
I don't know. It's just not exciting to me. But the thing about I was gonna bring up too with this is as bad as the F1 is struggling. Have you seen what a NASCAR driver recently did?
No,
Are you familiar with who Kevin Harvick is?
I mean the name
that
rings.
name-
That name rings a bell.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's a NASCAR driver.
I think he's retired now. Kevin
Okay,
Harvick. Do you know what he just purchased?
I do not. What did he purchase?
You just mentioned a reference to it.
Oh, he purchased Ricky Bobby's mansion.
He purchased
What?
Ricky Bobby's
I
mansion.
heard
from the
about
movie?
that.
Yes.
He bought the actual
house.
mansion.
$6.7 million.
That is one of the most badass things that I have ever seen. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Of all the houses you could buy as a retired NASCAR driver, like that's where you got to go. I hope he's eating KFC every night too.
I want to see the Twitter pics with his family
Yes.
at the table
With the spread?
with
Powerade.
KFC and Domino's and Powerade and all that
Taco
stuff.
Bell.
I'd like to thank Baby Jesus for some cool Mountain Blue Powerade, and it's really refreshing after a
That
hot
would
day.
be great.
Like to think of my Jesus with a mullet, you know, kind of like
Or
party.
that's the housewarming party spread when he has everybody over.
I don't know if it was true, but there was a rumor that he was going to put shake and bake on the gate to
I
get
mean, you
into
have
the
to.
house.
You have to. That is an iconic house.
Yeah, you got if you're doing that and like publicizing it, you got to lean into
Is
it.
he married?
I think he is. Yeah, he's
Okay.
got a
I was
family.
gonna say, Bummer, you could go after Ricky Bobby's wife too. That would be the next goal. You
She
got
was
the house.
hot.
She was a smoke show, dude.
Beautiful
Please
woman.
be 18. Please be 18.
I forgot about that line.
Goal number 2, man. That is awesome. Good for Kevin Harvick. Please be 18.
Please be.
Yes. Look at this little F1 Friday. I love it. We're off to a good start today.
Will Ferrell, man. Everybody talks about Costner in his sports movies. I think Ferrell did it the right way.
He totally did. He had, I mean, the sports movie run that he had there for a while. You know what is crazy? When it just is one of those
What
like
sport has he's hit on? Ice skating,
he did basketball with semi-pro,
Semi-pro.
basketball, racing.
racing. Yeah, am I missing one? Are we missing?
No,
a
we're
sports
missing.
movie?
There's one more. Soccer, kicking and screaming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Mike
He was the
Ditka
coach.
with the caffeine, the coffee.
I'm trying to think. Is there another one?
There probably is.
Is there a football one?
Talladega Nights came out in 2006.
Michael Clark Duncan's in that movie. He's been dead for like a decade.
God.
It's crazy.
That's nuts.
I don't think he did a football.
I don't think he did a
one.
football one either. Sandler did the same thing though. Sandler did hockey, did golf.
Yeah,
Did football. He was water boy.
Yeah.
yeah. I just got Kicking and
Well,
Screaming,
he did-
Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro, and Talladega Nights that popped up.
What's your favorite sports movie of all his sports movies?
I think you have to go Talladega Nights.
It's Talladega.
Well, I mean, you
Nights.
could just say yours is Talladega Night. You don't have to say you have to go.
I think you do. That's a like. Have you watched Talladega Nights
I
recently?
have. I've seen all those movies.
That's
I've seen
one
them all
that-
multiple times.
I think I would go Talladega Nights 1, Semi-Pro 2,
Yeah.
Blades of Glory 3, Kicking and Screaming 4.
Yeah.
Kicking and Screaming was
Kind of a kiddie
more of a
adult
kiddie movie.
comedy. You
The
know?
other three still hold up pretty well.
I might put Blades of Glory ahead of Semi-Pro.
See, I love Semi-Pro because he wanted to make a basketball movie, and they said, Will, you're 6'4", slow, and unathletic. You can't do an NBA movie. You go, what if I did pre-NBA? 70s in Michigan, Flint, Michigan.
The Flint Tropics.
And then the underrated part of that movie is Woody Harrelson's character getting traded for a washing machine and coming over and taking some guy's girlfriend, but he's into it because he's a big fan of Woody Harrelson's character.
And we now can use that analogy every time a trade comes up. I'd trade him for a washing machine.
Man, I don't know what happened to this F1 deal, but a lot of people got duped.
That's flushing money down the toilet right there if you bought tickets to that.
Oh, yeah.
You're not getting that stuff back.
Well, we got a big show today. We got a lot to get to, obviously, on a Football Friday. We got Christian Capel at 8 a.m. I actually want to start with the Thursday Night Football thing because there were two stories to take away from that. And so we'll start there. We'll dive into the Oregon State-Washington matchup. I got an Oregon thing, an Oregon angle in Arizona State that I want to bring to you, Dirt, today. So we'll get to that. Loaded show, Sprague and Line at 8:30. Dirt and Sprague, let's get it going on a Football Friday on The Fan.
It's The Fan.
two different things for one topic, and we don't get to one of the things because we just can't stop talking about one of the things.
That's usually how it works.
Really odd moment before the football game even started on Twitter with Carissa Thompson. Did you see this?
Oh, yeah. I don't think you could avoid this yesterday if you wanted to.
I would imagine our producer didn't even see this.
Yeah, did you see this yesterday?
No.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was busy with family stuff. If you
he
went
has
on
stuff going
Twitter,
on.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you knew about this.
That's true. She made a joke about it during the broadcast, though.
Did she?
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but people were saying that I guess she had a joke during the pregame show about the topic that we're about to discuss.
Well, she didn't address it when I turned it on.
Yeah.
Carissa Thompson went on Pardon My Take and admitted out loud that she used to make up sideline reports on the broadcast because she couldn't get the coach to talk to her or the coach came out too late. And instead of just like kind of making fun of the situation and saying, here's my tips, though, ha, 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 which I would argue is probably more entertaining anyway.
Yeah, probably is.
She would just make reports up. She would use cliches, too. She'd be like, coach says they need to play better second half defense. They got to limit the run and stop the big plays down with the passing attack. Joe?
The funny thing is with the cliches, that's exactly what you get every halftime.
Yeah,
We got to be better on third down. We got to, we got to tighten up the offense, pass protection. We're not protecting the quarterback well enough, and we got to get the run game going. Got to stay committed to the run game.
If I could eliminate one thing from most major sports play-by-play broadcasts, it would be that. Can we stop
In-quarter interviews, halftime interviews.
In and out of halftime? No. Coaches don't want to do it. They do it because they absolutely have to. They're told they have to by somebody.
Well, according to her, that's not accurate because coaches would quite literally avoid her or not come out in time.
So there was a little like the
report.
Yeah, the context behind it was she didn't do it like all the time.
I know.
If you listen to the full clip, I think she said it was about 15 to 17 years ago, like when she was starting out and nobody really knew who she was. And it was kind of her first break in.
She was nervous. She didn't think she was good at sidelines.
She was trying to chase the coach down, but the coach was running in. I don't know if we quite had the same TV rules where you have to do the interviews. Maybe we did, but some coaches
My guess
just
is,
don't care.
Yeah, because recently, in the last few years, they're doing it's even more invasive.
Well, now
they're
get
doing
them
them
like
in between quarters.
Yeah.
They're talking to play. Like
Mike Malone was being interviewed during a basketball game a couple days ago.
Yeah, they're starting to do it.
During the game.
The Nuggets Cup game. I turned it on.
I don't know if ESPN or TNT. Which
It was
doing
TNT.
it, but they threw the headset on him at
What
the
are we
start of the
doing?
third quarter.
That's
Now,
like a baseball game.
fortunately,
Yeah, but isn't there more going on in the NBA coaching?
A coach can take 2 minutes and talk. It's not. It's
Doesn't have to call
fortunately,
a
Mike
set, doesn't
Malone
have
is
to-
really good at it.
Also, Jokic is on the court. You're okay.
Just give it to Jokic. That's the play call for
Yes.
2 minutes. All
Let
right, that's fair.
Nikola run it all.
I generally,
Shoot it.
I can't think of the time you got an actual like something surprising or something like, wow, I hadn't really.
Matt LaFleur almost cried this season during a halftime interview.
He did.
Do you not remember that?
No,
They were getting blown out. I'll go look at the schedule. Once I see the game and the team,
Was it a primetime game or was
no,
it?
it was an
Sunday
afternoon
Sunday
game,
game.
but I was on
I don't know.
Fox.
I don't know
I agree with you on this, Swag.
that this adds anything.
But that's not the point.
No.
See, this is the problem with things, man. This goes back to the Costco parking incident. The point of where you park actually wasn't the point. The point was if you park somewhere, is there an unwritten rule?
Sounds like somebody's still mad about losing that argument.
Well, I think people misunderstood.
I totally understand.
But this is what you're doing. You're eliminated. Okay, I'm fine with that. Like she openly admitted that she lied doing her job.
yeah, I didn't get upset about this.
Well, you don't need to be upset about it. I just
Sure.
to admit that you just make up information as a journalist and reporter, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't come out and say
I don't
this
think she-
player's never going to play again or like totally lied. She just gave you cliches that a coach would have given you anyways.
I mean, that is a lie.
It is a lie.
It's
I
a
also
lie.
like the holier than thou sideline reporter act on Twitter yesterday was a little bothersome.
They all ganged up against Carissa Thompson.
like, dude, you're not Walter Cronkite, okay? You're reporting a quote from a coach about how their run defense isn't good on second down. Like, can we calm it down a little bit?
Well, and
We're not breaking
usually-
news about like Lance Armstrong's lying about taking steroids. This is about blitzing more in the second half. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of pearl clutching that happened yesterday. I try and put myself, when these stories come out, instead of getting my pitchfork out and my torch and go after the person, I try and think, can I understand where they're coming from? Like, can I put myself in their shoes? So I'm going to put you as a young whippersnapper broadcaster. You're getting your debut you're on Fox, national Fox, prior to the start of the Red Zone. So this is like the only game half the country can watch or a quarter of the country. And you got to chase down a head coach who doesn't want to talk to you. He doesn't give you a quote. I understand your point about hey, just make a joke about I couldn't chase him down. In modern times, that would be funny. But back then, you're starting out, you got the balls to do that on Fox. Hey,
you're gonna
I couldn't do my job, so I don't know what the coach said at halftime.
Bill
Back
Belichick
to you.
blew me off as I was supposed to get a quote coming out of the locker room. So back to you, Joe.
But what would have happened if she said it?
I don't know.
I don't think anything would have happened.
Probably nothing, but
she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. But there's also I don't know if you have the balls to do that in that you're just starting at Fox. Do you have the balls to do that on national TV?
I don't know. I think I'd be more I really believe I'd be more nervous about the lying on TV about it in case the coach saw it or somebody came back and said, "You know what she said that you said?" And he's like, "I never talked to her."
Sure.
I'd be more nervous about that because I don't think the former loses your job. I think lying on TV and finding out that you lied about a halftime report, as dumb as it sounds, I think there's a chance you could lose your job in that as a young Sparky. So I'm not outraged. I hear what you're saying. I don't like sideline reports either. It just I'm more on the line with the opinion of it's kind of a weird thing to admit out loud.
Yeah.
Maybe in a private setting, you're hanging out with those guys and you say, I had to make it up sometimes. These guys didn't talk to me. Okay. But to go out publicly and do it, kind of odd, kind of weird. Hey, listen to how I faked my job.
The other funny part about this, though, too, is that the things that will get out and the things that won't get out in the media circle, she has talked about this before. She does it. Her and Aaron Andrews do a podcast. I don't listen to it, but I think it's called the Calm Down Podcast.
I think the fact that you're telling me this and basically the rest of the internet didn't know this either, it's kind of
it pops up into my algorithm feed. We can do a deep dive on why that pops up into my algorithm feed, but we can do that at a later date. But it pops up in my algorithm, and she 4 years ago they did an episode, and she went at length about this. About how she didn't, she had to make up a quote because she couldn't chase down a coach. She was afraid she was going to lose her job, so she just gave the cliche-est answers that she could come up with and then sent it back to the booth.
Is Lamar Jackson the second best quarterback in the National Football League? It used to be a funny thing, and I'd get a quick no response, but I was talking about this with my dad yesterday because he's anti-Lamar.
Anti-Lamar, really?
He's got a weird take. He's like super Trevor Lawrence, Cousins, Purdy, anti-Lamar. It's a really weird football fandom he has.
I want my quarterbacks unathletic.
I make fun of him for I want my quarterback to be white. He's half Asian, by the way, so it's more of a joke. But he's kind of anti-Lamar. I was thinking last night, based on how everybody's playing, I don't think it's ridiculous.
He's certainly a nightmare to game plan for.
Yes. Even when he makes a mistake, he gets to the ball next. You're like, he's going to run for 40 and throw for 80.
There's a certain level of when he's making it up sometimes and trying to throw and extend a play, where as a head coach, I could see you kind of just grabbing your headset, hoping for the best. But that's not a ridiculous statement at this point.
I think on any given Sunday, he could be the best quarterback in the NFL or the second best quarterback in the NFL.
I think everybody would just permanently put Mahomes there.
And Mahomes look, he's got 2 rings in the MVPs, and it speaks for itself, right? He's the number 1 guy in the league. But it's not like he hasn't had clunkers this year. They didn't score a touchdown, I don't believe, against the Broncos a couple of weeks ago. They lost 24-9. He's had some clunker games as well. Lamar is that was a big game for his MVP candidacy yesterday. That's been kind of bubbling below the surface. That there's not one of those quarterbacks that's kind of risen above everybody else. It sucks that Mark Andrews is now done for the year. That's a brutal blow for their offense. And here we go again with Baltimore, finally getting some good pieces on the outside, and your number 1 target is now done for the rest of the year.
OBJ looked good last night,
He
though.
looked good. I like Zay Flowers. I think they've done a good job of addressing some of those needs, but you're also without one of your top running backs who's already gone, so your depth at running back is already limited.
I think the running back stuff's actually okay.
It's okay for now, but
Mitchell's pretty good.
You got the Gus Bus when you get
Gus
close.
Bus
to
is
the,
good.
to the
And they've
end
got
zone.
the Mark Andrews light, number 88. I don't know his name, but I just there's Mark Andrews 2.0.
Little Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Here's the tough part, though, is your depth has already been questioned, and so now if one more guy goes down, now who's the next guy up at that point? You're already on running back number 2 and running back number 3. You can't afford another injury, but that was an impressive win, and I don't want to say locked up the AFC North last night, but you're damn close to it.
Don't forget the Steelers.
The Steelers have the head-to-head win over them, so if they win this weekend, they're still technically in the mix. And Cleveland is too, don't get me wrong, but Cincinnati's got to figure out where they're going. And there's a lot of lingering questions from that game about talking like everybody's mad about the dishonesty from Carissa Thompson yesterday. I'm mad about the dishonesty from the Cincinnati Bengals because I gambled on the Ravens, and I would have gambled more money if I knew Joe Burrow had a serious wrist injury.
I didn't know that either. I also gambled on the Ravens. I got it at 4, and I'm like, well, it went up, so that makes me feel better.
What the hell? Let's go.
And I took it. I had no idea he had a wrist injury.
Until he got off the bus and somebody snapped a picture with him with a brace on. And the NFL is now investigating why they didn't report that.
By the way, the Lions-Packers game is the game that LaFleur was crying at the halftime. He was being interviewed going into the half, and he's not physically but when he talks, he's getting choked up. He's so emotionally spent because his team got waxed in that game.
I got guys in my wedding.
Yeah, it sounded a lot like that. It was like, we gotta play better. He was at my wedding. All right, let's stay in football, but let's go to college.
Let's do it.
Let's run through the list of games, and we have a suspension. We'll get to it next, but first, Swag with the sports update.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys you can put your trust in. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on the Fan, Ducks and Beavers both seeking wins to set up their final meeting next week in Eugene with a trip to the Pac-12 title game in play. Number 6, Oregon in the desert facing Arizona State at 1 p.m. right here on the Fan. Our live pregame coverage will start at 7 a.m. Ducks currently 23.5-point favorites. In Corvallis, number 11 Oregon State hosting number 5 and undefeated Washington for the last time in the foreseeable future. It's ABC's primetime national game, 4:30 kick on KATU Channel 2. The Beavers currently 2-point favorites. Jim Harbaugh, number 3 Michigan, announcing Thursday they will not continue their temporary restraining order hearing. They will accept the Big Ten's 3-game suspension for violating the conference's sportsmanship bylaws with their sign-stealing operation. It was a double whammy for the Bengals fans Thursday night. They get run over by the Ravens 34-20, and they may have lost quarterback Joe Burrow for the rest of the season. He suffered what appears to be a sprained wrist, leaving the game in the second quarter not to return. Blazers try to end a 5-game losing streak and stay in the running to advance out of Group A in the NBA's in-season tournament. They host the Lakers 7 o'clock tonight at Moda Center. Lakers 8.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. College hoops tonight on the Fan. The Oregon Ducks welcome the Tennessee State Tigers to Matt Knight Arena. 6 o'clock tip, pregame coverage at 5:30 here following primetime. Ducks currently 19.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we'll dive into the Oregon State-Washington game coming up. This weekend in college football, Jim Harbaugh and Michigan accepted their fate. They didn't want to fight anymore. They accepted the 3-game suspension.
Bet. I bet you we're going to win this lawsuit. I bet you.
I'd love to S out you, man. Such a weird thing a week later. We're the victims. We're being persecuted. And then they just say, yeah, we did it. We'll take 3 games. Bye.
I thought Peter Burns had a great tweet. I know he can be an SEC honk sometimes, but he had a tweet saying Michigan, here was this 6 stages of grief from Michigan. One was this totally didn't happen. That was their first argument. Then it went to, even if it did happen, it's not that big of a deal.
Yep,
like everybody does it.
Yeah.
Then it went to, sure, we did it, but everybody else cheated too. They all had our signs too. Then it went to, we're the victims here. We're the ones that are being persecuted, to we're going to sue and we're going to leave the Big Ten. Remember when that was a thing a week ago?
That was Monday.
We're going to leave the Big Ten to, all right, we'll take this.
You know they had to have thought, or I bet you that the Petiti guy was like, hey, Jim, we've got pretty damning evidence. We could release this if you want, or you could just stop. And he was like, yep, okay.
Yeah,
we'll stop.
They might have not had stuff directly pinning him in it, but my guess is the university lawyers found out what was going to be presented in that hearing and said, this doesn't look good for the university. We'll find a way to extend and bonus your contract here after the season and blah, blah, blah. Can you drop your holier-than-thou attitude here for a little bit, and let's just get past this?
I'm just upset that it ultimately didn't crumble and fall and end with us getting the video to TMZ of Connor Stallion's sunglasses being the video that's Harbaugh's like, I'm going to need you to go to all of these universities.
See all the other sidelines that he was on. I love how we still, by the way, don't have an answer to that.
Central Michigan's the weird one there.
Like nobody said anything. There was a coach on their sideline that was definitely Connor Stallion's recording the Michigan State sideline with sunglasses.
Yep.
And after the game, McElwain was like, I don't know what's going on here. Everybody's accounted for. Then nobody said a peep. That was like 3 weeks ago.
It's funny how many people that don't go to football games were like, I mean, there's like 90 people on that sideline. If you go to a football game, you understand how hard it is to get a credential.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's just like, oh, I'm going to be at the game. Give me my free pass. They'd be like, well, what are you going to do down there? Are you photo or are you non-photo?
Yeah.
And where he was the coach's box.
Yeah, so between
that makes
the
it even worse.
25-yard lines is only the team and designated team personnel.
Like if Dirk goes to a Duck game this weekend, he can't go past those lines.
No.
And he has full access.
No, you can't go anywhere near that stuff, man. You have a limited number you can have every single game. It's hilarious how that was just like totally forgotten, that there was just a non-coach on another team's sideline filming another team's sideline, and we're like, they've tried to act persecuted the entire time. There is a part of me that is glad that this is just like, all right, whatever. I don't think Jim Harbaugh deserved to get kicked out of the sport. Like, this is a pretty over-the-top cheating scandal, more so than maybe we've seen in recent years. But I'm glad at least this one has come to an end. They both sides acknowledge it is not better for us to move on. Jim Harbaugh's not going to win this. The Big Ten didn't want to continue to piss off their biggest cash cow. Now they still have to worry about the NCAA, though. So the only thing this did was
they don't.
Well, sure. But in theory, they do.
In 5 years.
This only got the Big Ten off of their back for the short term, but it eliminates any threat of them leaving the conference, and Michigan knew that they cheated the entire time.
We have a 4-way tie in the Big 12 with conference records being 5-2, and Texas is the lone wolf at the top at 6-1. They take on Iowa State at Iowa State this weekend. There is a scenario looming with a 5-way tie in the Big 12 after this weekend.
I want the chaos. Give me all. I hope Texas loses this weekend and we get all the chaos.
Are you ready for the chaos?
I'm
Here
ready.
is the multiple team tiebreaker. In the event there are more than 2 teams that have ties, these are the procedures. After one team has an advantage and is, quote, seeded, all remaining teams in the multiple team tiebreaker will repeat the multiple team tie-breaking procedure. If at any point the multiple team tie is reduced to 2 teams, the 2-team tie-breaking procedure will then be applied. There's a 2-team tiebreaker and a multiple-team tiebreaker. So if your multiple-team tiebreaker leads you to 2 teams that are tied, you go to the 2-team tiebreaker. But if you don't have that, they use head-to-head. If not, every tied team has played each other. Go to step 2. Step 2 is record against the next highest placed common opponent in the standings, based on record in all games played within the conference proceeding through the standings.
Totally following you.
When arriving at another group of tied teams, while comparing records, use each team's percentage against the collective tied teams as a group rather than performance, or you use the win percentage against all common conference opponents, must be common among all teams involved in the tie. If that doesn't work, you go to step 4, which is combined win percentage in conference games of conference opponents, or total number of wins in a 12-game season. The following conditions apply to the calculation. Only one win against a team from the NCAA championship subdivision or lower division will be counted, or highest ranking by Sports Source Analytics following the last weekend of regular season games.
What?
They use a team rating score metric to parse that out, and if that doesn't work, coin toss, Bob. Coin toss.
That's what we need to get to. We need to get all the way to the bottom to the coin toss, because none of that made any sense.
Did you guys follow that?
Oh, I'm totally on top
Follow
of
that?
it. Totally on top of it. My favorite Big 12 memory, I don't know about yours, my favorite Big 12 memory is when they had their first year of the Big 12, and they proudly proclaimed one true champion. We're the only conference that plays everybody. We'll have one true champion. And then they had a tie, and it cost them a spot in the college football
And they wouldn't
playoff.
pick.
They wouldn't pick.
They wouldn't pick
They
Baylor.
gave them joint championships, and both of them missed the college football playoff in year 1.
And one of them beat the other head-to-head in like week 5.
Yeah, I want to say Baylor beat TCU.
That's what it was.
I think that's how it went.
And then TCU won the conference title game.
no, they didn't have a conference title
No,
game.
they had the best record, but
Yes.
it was like...
They both, well, then Baylor ended up losing to somebody else, so they both had one loss.
That's right.
But the team had a head-to-head win,
and
but
they didn't
both
do conference championship games.
both 9-1. This doesn't make any sense. I hope we get to coin tosses. I want a coin toss.
I do too.
To decide the Big 12 future, and I hope, for the love of God, let Texas and Oklahoma miss that, because it would be so hilarious in their last year of the Big 12 if we ended up with like an Iowa State, Kansas State, and Big 12 championship. That's what I'm pulling for.
Chaos in the Big 12 this weekend. It's looming, and it's looming large. If Iowa State wins, everything I just read that you didn't follow, that you got confused at, and probably were asking me in your car, shut up and move on with it, that all plays a factor now.
They're 5-2 in conference. Texas is 6-1. Oklahoma 5-2. Oklahoma State's 5-2. And Kansas State is 5-2.
Yeah.
With rotating head-to-head wins. Good luck figuring that
Yeah,
out.
they've all like taken turns kind of beating each other.
Yes.
Like this team's beating that team, but that team beat those teams. It's a whole scenario, man. It's wild. Coming up next, this is exactly what you wanted him for. Next on the
I just can't stand evil-hearted woman and a lying man.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
Dirt has cup fever. He's talking to you about the Lakers-Blazer game tonight. Once upon a time, this game meant something, and now we can't even
on the
talk
edge of your
Blazers.
seat, a loss, and I think
This is a
Portland's
big game.
eliminated
That's it.
from
It's a big game.
from the being in the quarterfinals.
You're a game back right now of two teams in front of you. You lose this one, and kiss it goodbye.
Your cup chances are gone. They go down the drain. Must win tonight. Must win in the Moda.
Big one down in Corvallis on Saturday.
Yes, there is.
Speaking of
Bob.
must-wins.
Yeah, that's a must win.
It is a must-win for both sides, really. Washington doesn't want to put themselves in a position to have a loss on the schedule because they're already not getting the respect as an undefeated team.
Yeah, it would not help their case.
And I would imagine a loss to to Oregon State and Corvallis would kind of put an end to the Penix Heisman stuff and probably lock it up for Bo at that point, as dumb as this all is to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it probably depends on how he if he has a big game and they lose because their defense sucks. I don't know if
He will get punished for it.
Well, I'm not saying he won't get punished, but if they end up, let's say Oregon then beats Oregon State and you get a rematch and he outduels Nix in the Pac-12 title game and they beat Oregon again, I don't know if he's technically out yet.
I think if he loses Saturday, Bone is like a minus 200.
He is.
That's a big favorite.
I think it's because everybody believes Oregon's going to win out, which is not a guarantee.
It's okay. At least Joe Klatt's the only sane one nationally saying Bo Nix is not the Heisman winner. He's fourth on that
I don't know what
list.
Bo Nix did to you. When did Bo Nix hurt you? Huh? What's your beef with Bo?
I'll show you where he touched me.
Is it because he's better than DJ? Are we upset about this?
No, but I do think Saturday is exactly why you got DJ.
Yes.
Like, enough is enough. No more, is it this? What's going to happen here? To win Saturday, DJ has to be good. Doesn't necessarily have to be great because I think they can run the football on Washington, but Washington knows they're going to try to run the football. And so I just, of all the conversations we had about Oregon State going into the season and what we've said about them during the season, this is why you get DJ Uiagalelei. You want him in Corvallis for these moments in these games. He's got the experience. He's been on the big stage. Him and Penix might be the two most confident players in their, not only their positions, obviously, but on the field. And this is why you bring in the 5-star, formerly number 1 recruit kid in the portal to your place is for this game on Saturday. I think the pressure's on DJ, and I think this is the game that DJ needs to shine.
This is exactly why you brought him in. It's funny that I had the same exact thought, and I knew we were going to talk about the game a lot today. I don't really have any doubt in my mind that Washington's going to be able to score on Oregon State. Washington's offense is as good as it gets. Penix is unbelievable. The receivers are amazing, right? They're scoring on outside of the Arizona State game. It's the one outlier of their entire season.
We found out they were all sick, by the way.
And yeah, they've scored on everybody, right? So I don't have any question about that. I also Washington's run defense is 9th in the conference. Oregon State's going to be able to run the ball on Washington. I would be shocked if they're unable to run the football on Washington. You're going to need a quarterback, though, to step in, fill in the gaps, and make some plays. They lost this game in Seattle last year. Oregon State did. 24-21 was your final.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Ben Gobranson's stat line was in that game?
I'm looking at it, yeah.
Oh, no.
It was depressing.
Don't.
He was 12 of 19 for 87 yards. That was the stat line of your quarterback against a team that was at the time, I think Washington was ranked somewhere. I'm assuming they were. Maybe they weren't, but they were 7-2 after they won that game.
They were not, actually. Oregon State was 23rd, and Washington at that point had not been ranked. Yeah.
Okay, well, they ended up winning
7-2, and they weren't ranked.
Ended up winning the rest of their games, and they ended up finishing in the top 10. And maybe that was the sign that, okay, there's something here. You lost the game by a field goal, and your quarterback threw for 87 yards in Seattle last year. Now, I think Oregon State's a different team this year. I don't think they're as good defensively as they were last year, right? There's different pieces that have moved around. But for all the things that we've talked about around DJ this year, and I know that I upset some Beaver fans a couple weeks ago, it was never that DJ's bad or that DJ's not good. I just don't think he's quite in that top echelon category, but there is zero question that he is a massive upgrade from whatever you've had the last couple of years. His numbers speak to that. He's been really efficient. He's not turning the football over, and those are the things that you need to show up this weekend. Of all the defenses you can kind of feast on, Washington is allowing basically everybody to score. Now, they come up with big plays when they need them. You give them credit for that. But this defense is not a juggernaut, and they have allowed almost every offense outside of ASU to move the ball on them.
I also think the outside observations of DJ, when you look at the numbers, are that, man, he's lighting it up over in Corvallis. And while some of that can be true, I think everybody here, no matter who you root for, when you watch these games, because we love football, it's it's still a run first team. That's their identity. It didn't
That's their
change.
identity. But on those crucial third downs to keep drives going, those sorts of things, this is what you got DJ there for.
Yeah.
He's also going to have to be a more willing runner in this game. That if it's not there, I mean, initially that pass rush, I don't know how healthy the O-line is. I know Levin Good's been in and out for the Beavs. If they don't
Sounds like he's going to play this weekend.
I would assume if he can stand up, he's going to go out there and try. But yeah, I would be coaching him up as like, listen, if you get to read 3 and it's not there, you need to look for somewhere to go. We cannot take sacks in this game. You cannot hold the ball for 5 seconds. You got to go.
Yeah, if you have to have a 2.5 second clock in your head, and if what you see is not open, like
you got
just
first
go.
receiver. I got Velling. Unless you know you've got a running back in the flat,
right,
or running a screen pass or something. But if you don't like number 2, then it's number 5. Go.
I think for the most part, even though they have the 2 losses, like this is really, they didn't play very well at Pullman, right? And I still think that they choked away and blew the Arizona game.
Mm-hmm.
He's not unfamiliar with big pressure moments. So like that, there's no excuse for it. This is the weekend where Jonathan and Lindgren go, we're going to need you to save us a couple times here, man. Like the run game is good. They ran for 175 last year. That's not that elite for even that group. It was fine. You had an opportunity to win the game. You're outscored by 10 in the fourth quarter of that matchup. There's going to be possessions where DJ's legs, as Swag points out, or DJ needing to connect on that long bomb or that intermediate route. He's been good in some of those spots. He has more 20-plus yard down the field throws than Bo Nix. I mean, and like those are stats that I'm like, they don't compute in my brain. Because when I watch Oregon, I feel like Troy Franklin is down the field every time. And I watch Oregon State, and I feel like it's a Silas Bolden crossing pattern.
Well, when he takes 5 or 7 step drop, plants the foot, and rips it, I'm more confident in that rather than him trying to get to the second and third read and touch something or fit something over a linebacker in front of the safety.
And he kind of like does like a back pedal away from the line because he feels that pressure leaking.
That's where I get nervous. If the first inclination you have to keep going backwards is where you need to go forwards.
Let's throw this over on the other side, because the other part of this game, and it is what it is. It's a part of the game. It's the last conference game at Reser Stadium in the Pac-12.
It's going to be juice. You're going to have a good time.
I hope so, but I want to talk about that and then also something looming for Washington as well. So hour number 2, we'll get to a Duck thing. I have a Duck segment on Arizona State I want to get to at 7:15. Christian Capel will join us at 8. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Dirt and Sprague, hour
Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan. Dirt and Sprague on Football Friday on 1080 The Fan.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30, obviously. But if you missed the first hour of the show, you can always catch it at a Service Patriots podcast at 1080thefan.com. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. And you can reach us at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Vancouver Ford treats you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them for more information at vancouverford.com. We were talking about Oregon State and how this is kind of, there's a few games on your schedule. These are why you get DJ, right? And this is obviously one of those weekends. The other part of this is the last Pac-12 conference game. And I'm going to be there. My cousin will be in a Washington t-shirt. He's a little nervous because he's quiet. You know, he minds his own business. He's not like obnoxious sports fan guy.
When you're that kind of fan, I feel like you never get in any trouble. It's the fan that goes into opposing territory and is loud and boisterous and in other people's
braggadocious.
Then you're gonna get it. Like if I have found in every enemy stadium, and I've been to a couple of Civil Wars in Corvallis with Oregon gear on. Like, dude, if you're just like I'm a mind my own business fan. I'm not talking ass to everybody. I'm just minding my own business, and people leave you alone. You'll get a Go Beavs yelled at you, that kind of stuff. But that happens in every stadium you go to.
But how? Like, I'm just kind of curious about this. I'm just fascinated to see and experience the loudness. Like, I hate to admit this to you. We're getting older.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to be 37 in like 2 weeks. Look at Swag. He's like, damn, he's going to be 37. That means I'm going to be 88.
75. Jeez.
Something like that. But I'll be 37 in December. And you know what I did yesterday? For like 4.5 minutes? I was shopping for earplugs. I'm afraid that my ears are going to hurt at Reser Stadium, and I was thinking about buying earplugs.
Yes.
And I made myself walk away.
Yes.
Because you cannot be a 36-year-old man with earplugs. No. Suck it up, Betty.
You're going to put on the radio headset and listen to Doc Parker's call? That's going to be you with the antenna coming out.
Yes, I want to see
looking
that.
Looking up to Doc. Yeah, Doc, go, babe!
Have my own sports book, keep my own stats. 22 yards.
I want to see like the NASCAR pit crew style headphones on there.
They had those as an option, by the way.
There you go.
The big old bright orange ones, coincidentally. And I was like, I can't.
Get some bright orange ones. Get that antenna going up.
Right up.
You know what the problem was? Is I almost bought the big orange ones that almost look like the headphones I'm wearing now. And I didn't because I didn't want to look like the brother from There's Something About Mary.
Yeah, you don't want to look like that.
Frank and Beans, man.
Frank and Beans.
Frank and Beans. Not
a good look. You don't want to pull off that look at a Beaver game.
Underrated Halloween costume, though, is what I thought. Frank and Beans.
Crazy bastards are the best thing I got going for me in this crazy world. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is obviously much easier for you two to speak on. I'm going to be curious what the emotions are as the night goes on. And obviously, if they win, which I think Oregon State is going to win tomorrow, but just what that vibe's going to be like in the stadium, what the reaction's going to be from the crowd. I'm assuming if they do win, you'd have some sort of field rushing, right? I don't know.
I hope they have fun with it. I don't care about what the seating's. These college kids
You're
have
ranked
fun.
behind them. They're undefeated. This is an acceptable field rushing.
And oh, by the way, you were number 6 at UW in 2012. I was at this game. They were unranked and trash, and you started Mannion instead of Vaz, and you lost. They stormed the field. And I will never forget that moment because I was in the press box. I saw the UW students coming out. I believe they were at CenturyLink for this one. They rushed the field. And Softy was just a couple people next to me, and he gets up and he goes, "Great, we're storming the field for Oregon State wins now." It really bothered him that they rushed the field for an Oregon State win.
This is where your program's at. Yeah, it's just everything that's going into it is one of the reasons why I do like Oregon State. There's just it's It's the feeling of like there's so much magic in the air. Like you can't lose this game. It's your last one.
I mean, you can. You don't have a good secondary.
I know that you can.
A strong secondary.
Washington doesn't have a good defense. But it's a 4:30 primetime ABC game. It's not a great slate tomorrow in college football. Like Texas and Iowa State, I believe, are around the same time at 5 on Fox.
It's the best game of the day. We
sure,
know that.
But you tell me Texas is losing, like, all right, maybe I'm going to flip over and you'll see what's going on with Texas. This is easily the best game of the weekend. So you're going to have all the eyeballs. It's going to be an opportunity for Oregon State to have a moment in the sun of the sport. And they're not going to get it in the morning because ESPN's a bunch of cowards and they didn't want to come to Corvallis for College game day. But you're going to have the eyes of the sport on you at 4:30 from that 4:30 to 7:30 window. And if you pull off that upset, man, this will be the talking point in the country for 24 hours.
Will they move up 5 spots the way Missouri did?
If they beat UW? I mean,
will they get to 6?
By the logic of the committee ranking, if you beat UW, you should rise at least 3,
it
right?
Should be Oregon 5,
past Oregon
State 6, go past Alabama.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like what you're putting down right now. We were at the game 2 years ago in Reeser, me and Swag.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting game because it was a good environment. The weather was perfect. Oregon State shouldn't have won it.
No.
Chance Nolan was awful in that game.
Was sputtering.
Their offense couldn't do anything.
And then they had just some random big plays.
Yeah, turnover happened. They ended up winning on a walk-off field goal. And then last year, new coach, new system, you lose by a field goal. It's just a very interesting last couple of years between these two programs. They're in a much different spot than they were even those 2 years ago. But I said it in the last segment. I really do mean this. I think if Penix and Washington lose, I think you can kiss that Heisman goodbye. I think if he wins, he's going to be the odds-on favorite on Monday because Bo, no matter what Bo does, he's playing Arizona State. Yeah. There's not going to be respect given for that.
No, unless he does something absurd.
But he's already kind of done that, and it's gotten him to the favorite. But if you were comping weekend resumes, if Bo beats Arizona State, he throws 3 touchdowns and has 300 yards.
Yeah.
That's a great day.
No, Bo has to throw for like 500 yards and 8 touchdowns or something for that Arizona.
That's insane.
Arizona. I said something absurd.
That's beyond absurd.
I mean, I understand the take. I don't think anybody's going to win or lose it this weekend. I think the odds will be sharpened a little bit, but I still maintain, like, if Washington loses on a last-second field goal and Penix throws for 470 yards and 4 touchdowns.
What happens if Penix throws for 220, 2 touchdowns and a pick?
Then yes, he will be out of the running. Then yes, if he's one of the reasons why they lose, and if that's his stat line, he is one of the reasons why they lost, then yes, he can kiss it goodbye. But I don't think that's going to happen because I don't trust Oregon State's defense enough to shut him down. Now, maybe the weather is the curveball that gets thrown in all this, and it truly is that nasty, and they have a hard time throwing the ball. If you want to look at the history of the matchup, too, don't forget the COVID year. The COVID year, you guys were up in Seattle, and you got screwed on the 4th down call. Remember that? The officials absolutely boned you.
Yes,
and you lost by it was another
Jamar
one.
Jefferson,
yes, it was a one-possession game. So you've got 3 years in a row now where I think it was a 3-point game, a 6-point game, and a 3-point game. So it's been incredibly tight the last couple of years, and that's why I don't think this year is ultimately going to be any different. I wanted to ask a question last night, but I didn't want to speak for you, too. Is this the biggest home game in the history of Oregon State football?
No.
No, okay.
No.
That's a pretty quick, easy no.
2008 was much bigger. The Rose Bowl was on the line, and it was Oregon at home on senior night for a team that had, a lot of people. There was a lot of seniors on that team. I'll never forget watching those guys get their roses that night. Like, the belief in that building, having been there, the belief and energy that night for that Civil War was, we beat this team. We're in the Rose Bowl. Yes. Holy crap, look at us. You could feel the monumental moment of what all of that was, and then they got housed. Yeah. I mean, they got housed. They couldn't. I think the Ducks ran for like 450 yards on them.
Scored 65.
Scored 65, and like it was a deflate. You just knew it from the get. You're like, oh no.
So I'm not putting the what's at stake on top of that because you're right.
You also had USC at home on a Thursday on ESPN.
That one I remember.
College football.
Yeah, but I don't know. I see those were great upsets. I will never forget the Oregon State USC upsets over the years. There was a lot of them in Corvallis. It felt like USC had great seasons that died in Corvallis every year for a while. I just am asking, I see your point on the Rose Bowl. I think there's got to be something to play for, not just a big upset. So the 2008 one was good. You technically, if you win this game, you control your destiny. Well, not completely, because you need Utah to beat Arizona. But if Utah beats Arizona, which you will know by the time your game kicks off, and if you win on Saturday, if you beat Oregon, you're in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, but you have to you control it, but you kind of don't, right? Like, because you have to still go to Eugene and win, and you're not nearly the team on the road that you are at home.
Sure.
I'll be all in on it. We'll have our bets. We'll get all that.
Throw the records out, rivalry game.
Yeah, the reality is you haven't won there since, what, 07? And your stats are almost dropped off by half when you go on the road. This year, the most they've given up in research 24.
Yeah.
I'm kind of eyeing the under of this game, actually. I do think the weather can play a factor, make this a little more challenging. And you know what? Their pass rush has gotten a little better the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Chatfield's been huge.
And when they play at home, they're just a different team. So, like, I think they can definitely get to Penix. They can make life a little miserable. And by the way, UW at home last year in tough weather only scored 24.
Yep.
So I think there's a chance here. It can muddy up. It can get a little ugly. And if you can bring UW down to your level, you got a great shot. You do. This is a trendy pick. All the odds makers are out there. They're like, Oregon State. Pate said he's got Oregon State at 3.5, not 2.5. There's a lot of people that love this upset, and I hope I see it. But to answer your question, no, I do not believe this is the biggest home game. It's the last one, and that in itself is kind of the standalone memory of it, right? Like, the atmosphere is going to be great. It's a top 10-ish matchup. It's something that you're excited for. You still have a shot if you can win. That's great. I think the standalone thing about this is last conference game at home, top 10 matchup, not biggest home game ever.
50 degrees and rain at kickoff.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be nasty.
It's going to be in the 40s by the third quarter. Yeah,
it'll be nasty.
10 miles an hour.
There's no doubt about that. I think you mentioned something there that's a big, big key. I don't know how I feel about Oregon State's secondary. They got a lot of guys that are banged up. They've allowed some teams to throw the ball on them this year. Their pass rush, though, the last couple of weeks has been really good, and that's what you need. You have to throw Michael Penix off. You have to get after him.
Yeah.
And so Chatfield and those guys, Mascarenas, like, they have to have big games up front, which I think they have the ability to do. The other aspect of this is from a Washington angle. Like, I remember talking about this in August, where this is a brutal stretch of schedule, man. 2 weeks ago, they had to go to USC, who I know is not the team that we all thought, but that's still Caleb effing Williams that you have to go beat. They win in a game that goes all the way down to the final minutes. They finally get that sack. They force USC to punt. They went all the way the distance. Then you come home. You got to play a Utah team. It just punches you in the gut for 4 quarters. And they have a halftime lead. You end up winning, but they have the ball with a minute to go with a chance to win. Barnes can't put a drive together. And now, oh, by the way, you got to go to Corvallis. Like, that is a brutal 3-week stretch. Their defense has not played very well in these 3 games.
They play well in spots. It's when
they come up with stops when they need them.
And
but
that's an important part here.
Sure, but I think the rational mind would look at that and say, how often are you going to get away with that? Because every statistical metric points to this defense and says they're not a good defense.
No.
They're like 7th overall in the Pac-12, and there's not a lot of good defenses in the Pac-12. They're 9th in rush defense. Like, there's not a lot of good rush defenses in the Pac-12. Like, how many more times can they get away with this defensively? And maybe Penix in the offense is enough, and they win this shootout, and it hits the over, and it's 49-45, and you didn't need a defense because Penix was that good. That could end up being the case, but I think there's an aspect of, like, this is a brutal stretch. The only other layer I'll add on top of it, too, and I don't mean any offense to USC fans who are listening. Like, this is easily going to be the toughest environment they have played in all year. USC is a front-running town, a front-running fan base. They had already lost a couple of games going into that Washington game. Like, that was not the same kind of environment as it would have been if both teams were undefeated or playing for a lot. This is the toughest environment you're going to go into all season, and it's not even close.
Over East Lansing, huh?
Oh, it's just by a nose.
Hell yeah, brother.
Over East Lansing, who fired their coach that week for taking his ween out and playing with it on the phone.
The unexpected event that happened and changed everything. Let's talk about it next on the
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
At Brandon Sprague, don't be a bitch. Bet at the Dirt Johnson straight up. I'm hearing OSU fans say this is a neutral site game and Oregon 8S.
Yeah, many people are saying this. I agree. Straight up. Straight cash, homie. Money line.
I think one of the bad things the internet has done is made us think that an entire fan base, thinks something that one Twitter account user says.
No.
I think that's been some of the downfall of America.
Exactly.
We will get that.
Speaking for everybody. No, you're a crackpot out on your own little world.
Yeah, I don't know a single Oregon State fan that has this belief. If you could highlight it, and it's not a troll or some Oregon State fan that's doing it for clout. I'd love you to point me in the direction. We got a early look-ahead line to that game, Swigard.
Yeah.
I'm getting 11.5 points.
You're not getting an 11.5 points.
If it's 11.5,
I'm not giving you 11.5.
Why?
No,
we always agree to do the spread.
Single digits.
Get outta
You're going to
here.
come in and brag on that Monday about, we only lost by 10.
What if we lost by 11? What if we lost 33 to 22?
31-20 is your final. I would hate you forever.
Because the Ducks tried to go for 2 again and didn't get it.
They're chasing it for like 3 possessions.
No, I'm flipping this on you. You lose by 14, but you could have lost by 11, but you faked a field goal to your kicker.
We'll get to that next week. We're going to come up with a bowl of punishments. Swag, I off air told Dirt, I like him to think of 3 funny penalties. I'll think of 3. You think of 3. We'll put them in a bowl. The loser could end up picking their own punishment. So I'll put my hand in the bowl, or Dirt put his hand in the bowl when Oregon State goes to the.
All right. Are we going to do this Wednesday when you two are both here?
Yes.
Or are we going to do it Friday, get you on the phone when you're getting...
It'll be Wednesday.
I'm going to be here Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing the show Friday.
I'll be here Friday.
I told you that on Monday.
Yeah, I know.
See, interesting. You responded to an email not directed towards you, and you didn't even know what was happening. See, this is the problem. This is my communication is key, my man.
I have a degree.
Communication is key.
In communication. Worked very hard for that degree.
I don't know what we're going to get to at 7:30. There's not really a whole lot, personally, for me as a sports fan, to touch on with the matchup that Oregon has this weekend. This should be a game that they win by a comfortable margin. I don't care what that number is, but they should. I was more thinking, just kind of going through some of the audio from press conferences this week. It's really interesting, I think, to look back a little over a year ago, and remember that Lanning got this job, hired Kenny Dillingham, who at that point in his career was kind of known as this traveling 30-year-old that knew offense, and he had already had like 6 jobs at this point.
He was an underling of Mike Norvell.
I had, and I'm not going to say who it was, I had a respected media member talk to me for like 20 minutes and was like, I don't think this guy's very good. I think he's a little overrated. I don't think his offense is that creative. Like, just kind of, hey, be careful. I don't think this guy's that good. And then Bo Nix also comes as a package deal. And I don't know if I'm out of bounds here. It felt like most Duck fans were like, oh, really? And then they start their venture off losing by 46. Mm-hmm. And it's like, where's Ty Thompson? What kind of offense is this? It's a funny current of events that you're a little over a year ago. Those guys were here and Duck fans were either unsure and not happy or just straight up unhappy. And you see where the program is now, even though one of those guys parlayed that one season into a job.
It's a reminder that none of us have any clue what the hell we're talking about. This is kind of going on at A&M right now a little bit. It sounds like Traylor, the dude at UTSA, is the front runner for the job. They haven't made a hire yet, obviously.
You know what? A little out of the box, cheaper, and you know what? Those small coach guys can hit.
Everybody has come with the same comment of like, you got all that money to spend and you're hiring a coach from UT San Antonio, really Texas A&M? It's like, well, they wouldn't got the national championship guy for $100 million last time. How did that work out? Maybe we try something different.
They're broke.
It's just a reminder that, like, dude, when we react to these coaching hires, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. Dan Lanning, I would be willing to bet 65% of Oregon fans had never heard of Dan Lanning when that news broke. And it was an Atlanta report. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution broke it when he was hired. I know I had
remember people questioning that
I
report,
heard
too.
I kind of knew the name. I was like, Dan Lanning, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head where the hell he was coaching at. I had never heard of Kenny Dillingham before.
Yeah.
And similar up in Seattle, dude. Like, they didn't go after Kalen DeBoer as their number one target. They went big fish hunting. They couldn't find somebody, and they landed on Kalen DeBoer. Look where we're at 2 years later. Washington is undefeated. Oregon's one lost team in the mix for the college football playoff. It's just a reminder that none of us have any clue how these coaching hires are going to work. And I remember the similar sentiment about Dillingham when he came over, because it was like, dude, this guy's never called plays. He's 32, 31 years old. Like, we're really like, that's the guy we're handing the keys to the offense over to. And then you added on top of that the news of Bo Nix, a guy who none of us felt like could throw the football from his time at Auburn. It's just wild to think about how far things have progressed. I hated the way the season ended last year, and to have the Civil War end the way that it did, and then like 4 minutes after the game, you got the announcement, Dillingham's gone. You're like, can we just get through one season without losing a damn coach to a head coaching job? But there will always be a level of respect and thankfulness for Dillingham, because it's amazing. I would have never said it at the time, but without Bo Nix, you're not here, man. If Ty Thompson's your guy the last 2 years, if what other transfer quarterback you wanted to bring in was Keaton Slovis was your guy, like, you're not here right now. Bo has been incredible. He might go on to win the Heisman Trophy this year, and so there will always be an appreciation for Dillingham for what he did.
And that's kind of my point, is the moment in time that presented, like in the moment, you're not everybody was all lockstep, arm in arm. Yeah, these are the moves. We like these moves. And man, I give Lanning so much credit. You know how I feel about Dan Lanning as a coach. I think he's easily the number one candidate I'd go after if I was A&M. Like, here's another $100 million. I don't care at this point. But where they are now, like, that doesn't happen without Kenny Dillingham and Bo Nix coming to this university.
Not at all.
And it's just wild to see how quickly, like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we're talking about this, and in the same week we're talking about it, Chip Kelly's about to get fired again.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you go back to what he did at Oregon and how he basically changed and revolutionized college football. There's still offenses that use all those principles today, and they tweak them, but they use them. And he's about to lose another job, his third job now as a head coach. He lost the Philly job, the Niner job. He's going to lose UCLA this weekend because, I think they're going to lose USC, but two, the noise is too loud.
Yeah.
And in the same week that's happening, we're talking about how you're on your third coach since him, or fourth coach since him, and you're not only winning again at an elite level, you're playing kind of the same but more physical brand of football. Chip Kelly's offense evolved throughout the whole sport, and then people perfected it and outdid him with it, and it's running him out of the sport as a head coach. Oregon is running a similar tempo, speed, kind of versatile system, but physical, punch you in the mouth. And oh, by the way, on the other side of the ball, we've gotten significantly better. It's just the evolution from Chip Kelly being here to what he's done to now you have Dan Lanning and Bo Nix. It's just an interesting timeline to follow, given Chip's probably going to lose his job this week, and Oregon can continue to control their own destiny to the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, the other part of this, too, is you get a lot of coaches who were early on in their tenures going with the argument of, I need more time. It takes time. It's a process. You don't get here overnight. There's a lot of schools that have resources that's not really an excuse anymore, man. With the transfer portal, like, was Oregon in a better spot than some of the other, like, use Mario at Miami or Lincoln Riley at USC? Were they technically in a better spot than those schools? Sure.
Yes.
But we talked about it all summer. The ironic thing is, what was the storyline in July and August as we got ready for the start of this year? This is kind of Dan Lanning's team now. Like 85% of the roster are guys who have joined the team in the last 2 years. There's a couple of holdovers, of course. Guys like Troy Franklin and Keon Ware-Hudson and Dorless. Like, there's a few holdovers. I don't know why I can't say that word. But 85% of the roster is his. And so you can flip these things and win right away. And so that's why I kind of chuckle when I hear coaches like Lincoln Riley or Mario making excuses about, it's year two, it's process, got to give us time. Like, all right, Kalen DeBoer did it in Seattle, and that job was in awful shape when he took over. And last year they won 10 games. This year they're undefeated and have a chance to make the college football playoff. So some coaches have the ability to do it right away. Some don't. There's a reasoning for that because they are truly elite coaches. I do look at this weekend, though. Like, I know these things usually settle themselves on the field, and we get worried about these disaster scenarios of what happens if all these teams win and who gets into the playoff. But just for the sheer fact of, like, there is a possibility that could happen, I do think this weekend is important. Like, if I'm going to sit here and criticize and say it's okay to rank Washington a spot behind Florida State because they didn't score an offensive touchdown against ASU, go beat them the way you're supposed to beat them. Like, this is the time of year you want to be playing your best ball. You have a chance this weekend off of a big win last weekend. Now you get ASU, where if you can play the way you're supposed to play, you can rest guys in the second half. You got a short week coming up.
That's the
against Oregon
part.
State. Like, just get fresh, get out healthy.
Yep.
And Oregon State is likely going to be in a knockout, late night game. It's going to go all the way to the fourth quarter.
I think there's going to be trick plays in that thing. I think Jonathan's going to open the bag.
Up, and then you got to turn around and play on Friday. So you got a major scheduling break. Don't fart around. Don't do anything to hurt yourself. Don't be stupid. Arizona State can't score on you. Go win the game by 30 points. Get the hell out of there. Enjoy some sunshine, and let's get ready for the Civil War.
I wanted to look this up. My wife said next week was supposed to be, Friday. Dude, Friday is supposed to be 45 and sunny for the Civil War.
Yes.
I mean, the sun will be set by kick because it'll be 5:30, but
that's all right.
It's going to be a cold, crisp fall night that they play that game.
Frozen tundra.
No, you got turf.
Kind of frozen tundra. We played this game on the grass. Play it on the grass.
Grass didn't look very good for the Ravens last night. A lot of tripping, foot's getting caught a little bit.
That's true. Very true.
Cold grass, man. It's dangerous.
Look, we're going to talk about our helmets this weekend, okay?
I don't know what you want to, if you want to continue on that game. I just don't know what there else is with it outside of what you said.
I gave my thoughts. My thoughts are done there.
Some of the college football, some NFL ahead. And don't forget, we'll Sprague the line, and Christian Capel of On Montlake will join us at 8 a.m. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first, Swag with the sports update.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's The Classic American Steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tanaspoint, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan. Ducks and Beavers both seeking wins to set up their final meeting next week in Eugene, with a trip to the Pac-12 title game still in play. Number 6 Oregon heads to the desert, taking on a former offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham's Arizona State Sun Devils. 1 o'clock kick. We'll have it for you on The Fan. Our live pregame coverage will start at 7 a.m. Ducks holding as 23.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. In Corvallis, number 11 Oregon State hosting number 5 and undefeated Washington for the final time in the foreseeable future. The ABC Primetime National Game, 4:30 kick on KATU Channel 2. The Beavers currently 2-point favorites. Jim Harbaugh and number 3 Michigan announced Thursday they will not continue with their temporary restraining order hearing. They have accepted the Big Ten's 3-game suspension for violation of the conference's sportsmanship bylaws with the sign-stealing operation. Blazers looking at a 5-game losing streak and stay in the running to advance out of Group A in the NBA's in-season tournament. They host the Lakers. 7 o'clock tip tonight at Moda Center. Lakers 8.5-point favorites. And college hoops for you on The Fan. The Oregon Ducks welcoming the Tennessee State Tigers to Matt Knight Arena. 6 o'clock tip. Our pregame coverage starts at 5:30 following primetime. Ducks currently 19.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. 7:37. Happy Football Friday, everybody. We'll get to Christian Capo coming up top of the hour.
I have a question for you quickly on your Oregon Duckies.
What do you got, Bob? What do you got? 1 o'clock on Fox tomorrow, by the way. Somebody texting in, our weather reporters at the Vancouver Fort text line.
Yeah.
Saying there's actually a chance it rains in Tempe tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. Okay.
Is it warm rain? Does Tempe get Scottsdale cold, or is it like its own hub of heat?
Let me check out. Yeah, we got a high of 74.
Okay.
Precipitation, looking like, maybe a little bit at the start of the game till about 1:30, give or take, and then it's clear the rest of the day.
If your team is, let's say, up 45-7, third quarter, this game is over, obviously.
Yep.
What Christmas movie are your players watching on the bench?
Wouldn't it be the losing side, though? Didn't the losing team?
It was the losing side, but your players are now done. We've done our job. We've clocked out. We're on the bench now.
Yeah.
What Christmas movie are they watching?
Well, you could go with the first Christmas movie I watch every year, and I have already watched it, and that is White Christmas. Always the first one I do. I always pop in White Christmas. It's on Netflix every November.
Wow.
And it's always my go-to. It's not a super Christmas movie, but it kind of gets you in the feels. You get some Bing Crosby in your life.
You do.
Who doesn't want Bing Crosby in their life?
Well, the reason I asked that is because the story we didn't get to this week was the players on Arkansas's bench in the middle of a loss were caught at halftime watching the Polar Express in the locker room.
Yeah. I mean, it's that time of year. Who doesn't have the spirit?
Of all the Christmas movies? All of them?
The first one, you can't go Polar Express right out of the gate.
No.
You got to wet your whistle a little bit. Polar Express is too deep.
What's the movie as a coach that they walk by and the coach does like, oh, I like this one, and then goes, oh, wait a minute, hey, it's halftime.
Hey, we're down by 30 right now.
What is that movie? Is it like the claymation Rudolph movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yukon Cornelius.
Brings back good memories, man. Speaking of which, now that we're sidetracked a little bit, I wanted to get to this. We talked about it yesterday, and I don't want to get too deep into it. I just want to read the tweet and laugh because I thought it was a pretty funny joke. So the Swifties are all digging through Travis Kelce's Twitter history.
Yeah, I saw these too.
He deleted a tweet that people have screen grabbed from 2010.
They found his college tweets.
Yes, and they're hilarious. He's got a good sense of humor.
Well, this also, let's be fair to Travis here. This is kind of how Twitter started.
Yeah, there's nobody on Twitter.
It was stream of conscious. It wasn't like reporting necessarily. No. It was just like, hey, I tied my shoes while a bird pooped on my hand today.
I remember being in college, and there was a buddy of ours who joined, was the first one to join Twitter.
I was on it in 09. I was on it like the second month that it existed.
We endlessly made fun of him.
Really?
Like, what, you just want to tweet out your thoughts? Like, people want to read that? Who the hell wants to read your thoughts?
Oh, you pulled the who cares what you think card?
100%.
Oh, man, you're mean.
So this was an Easter tweet from Travis Kelce in 2010.
Oh, no.
He deleted it, and we need to call him out because he should not have deleted this. I thought it was pretty funny. He said, Happy Easter to all with 3 exclamation points. Got to get that in. Happy Easter. Make sure it's emphatic. And then he did hashtag shout out. So the shout out word is hashtag. So it's a different color.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jesus for taking one for the team.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
What did he do it? He sacrificed himself.
They're pretty good points. Actually, a pretty good joke.
He should have ended it with hashtag he is risen, though.
I saw the Swifties were circulating that one yesterday. I thought, what are we doing? Why'd you delete that?
He had 2 that reminded me of dirt. He had one that said, I'm swinging through Taco Bell, and then I'll be by the party. I thought, that's college dirt.
That's something I would have tweeted in 2009.
And I think he also said something like, me and Pops went to Olive Garden. I got the Alfredo with chicken. It slaps. Like, such a football player thought in 2010.
Just hanging out at Cincinnati, smoking weed, going to the Olive Garden.
But you know what's funny is we make fun of these tweets all the time. We dig these out. We could do this to your account.
Oh, God, you could,
I know you could find some awful 09, 2010 Sprague tweets that were just like, I don't even know. I remember when I tweet. It was probably dumb things like stream of con. I gotta take a crap.
I'm pooping.
But what's funny is people make fun of those. They were doing the same thing on Facebook.
They were, yeah.
Facebook was the same thing. It was just like, I went to school today and I had the thought we should love each other. why did you put that out?
Get that out of here.
That should not be for public consumption.
So shout out to Travis Kelce. I quite enjoyed that. Shout out to Jesus for taking one for the team. And then he added a ha-ha at the end.
Swag, would your life have been better, worse, or the same, you think, if college Swag had a Twitter?
I don't know. I don't know that I would have taken to it much. I've never been one to
see you're placing
document everything. I've never been like a big photo, like some people take pictures,
right?
Whether or not it was in your cell phone or you actually took physical pictures or a Polaroid or whatever the hell. I was never one to try to document and capture everything for keepsakes. I just enjoyed being in the moment and being there, and I would have the memory for myself, and that was good enough.
But what's hard is you're grasping at who you were/are versus it being in your life makes it different, right?
It's a it's a generational thing.
It is a generational thing, but like it came along for us in college.
It did.
And I thought it was a really weird thing, but we had a media teacher who was like, no. This is going to be a really popular website. Trust me. And so I created an account, and I was kind of swag. I don't have a lot of photos. I didn't do that. I just lived. I just made memories and lived. I didn't do social media even.
Right.
I got more excited about changing my song on MySpace than anything else on social media at that point in my life.
Top 8s were important. Your profile song, that was a big deal. That was a very, very big deal.
Your avatar, your default profile picture was really important. You wanted to look really good. And
it was all important, dude. That was a whole build-out. You'd spend a lot of time on your MySpace top 8.
I'm trying to guess, like, when you graduated college in the 90s, right? 91?
90. I was a class of 93.
93, okay. So you got to college in...
89.
89.
The year I was born.
I can take a stab in the dark right now. Swag on Twitter in 1989. What do you think he was tweeting about the most?
Probably music, Janet Jackson of some sort.
I think
love you, Janet.
I think he was tweeting about how underrated hot Janet was, and then also talking about how we need to get to our Ronald Reagan economy.
Yeah, we need to trickle down.
We need to trickle
down guy back in the
Start
80s.
trickling it down, guys.
People are texting, by the way, Christmas movies for coaches. Die Hard, if you had that on, the coach would probably stop, be like, yeah, yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of coaches a little out of the box.
Okay.
Not just like the macho guy coach Christmas movie. Like, I want to coach Nick Saban. Does Nick Saban watch a Christmas movie and cry? I kind of want to believe that he does.
I bet he does. He's in touch with his sensitive side.
He's not allowed to do that in public. He's not allowed to be that guy. He's angry curmudgeon football bro.
No, he watches whatever Miss Terry says.
Yeah, Miss Terry will put it on, make him a little popcorn. He's going to tear up at the end of that movie.
Yeah. Is anybody else weirded out that he calls his wife Miss Terry?
It's a Southern thing.
Should I do that with my wife when I get home? Just see how she responds?
I have family from the South. They never go, hey, why don't you talk to Miss Sheila?
Hey, Miss Michelle, how you feeling? Can you make me any lunch today?
Hey, Miss Lynn, what are we going to have for dinner?
Try to pull that card when I get home.
Did she ask to be called Miss Terry, or did he just start saying Miss Terry?
I also love how, too, in the vernacular down there, it's Miss, not Mrs., which is funny, too. It just goes, Miss Terry. Miss Terry.
God, that used to be such a big deal with our teachers growing up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Ms.
It's not Miss. Or when they got married, I'm Mrs.
Mrs. You start calling me Mrs. now.
All right, I got some odds and ends I'm going to throw at you, including any potential upsets for this weekend and a fun trivia question that I'm wondering if the two of you can answer. So we'll get to that coming up next. Christian Capel at the top of the hour. Don't forget your Sprague in the Line sponsors at the Vancouver Ford text line. We'll do that coming up at 8:30, 503-864-6326. Back after this on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Just looking for that opportunity, due process. Not looking for special treatment, not looking for a popularity contest, just looking for the merit of what the case is.
There's Jim Harbaugh. Michigan finally stopped their lawsuit against the Big Ten, and they took the 3-game suspension. So he missed Penn State. He'll miss Maryland at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and then he'll miss, obviously, the big rivalry game against Ohio State.
Love the circle of life. We didn't do anything wrong. To, yeah, we did it, but everybody else did it. To, yeah, we're going to leave the Big Ten. To, okay, we'll shut up and take our 3-game suspension.
Who's stinking it up? Michigan and the Big Ten for being cowards. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back and let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. 3 Mountains Plumbing. That's 3mountainsplumbing.com.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, we'll get to Christian Capel coming up top of the hour. Some more thoughts on the showdown in Corvallis tomorrow night. Can't wait. Sprague's going to be down there, rocking his poncho, getting all wet. Beavers and Huskies.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the game. I like hanging out with my cousin. I love good atmospheres. I largely don't go to games much anymore because, well, I'm washed as an old guy and dad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm the guy that gave you the opinion we need to dome these stadiums up. I don't like weather. I'm not fond on being in bad weather for extended periods of time.
Especially when you got to drive home afterwards.
It's the worst.
So when you're all wet in your car, you feel gross and soggy.
You remember the 2016 Civil War fondly.
Not fondly, but I remember it vividly.
Well, it was a pretty pivotal point in your program.
That was the moment
saved it.
Gary Anderson was going to take over the state and dominate forever.
Oregon State saved Oregon again. And, I still can't believe you left us for the Big Ten. But all jokes aside, it was really windy and rainy that day.
It was brutal.
And I remember getting to my car after the win, and I'm like, I don't want to get home. I don't want to hang out here and keep hanging out. So I got in the car. My jeans were soaked. I don't like wearing wet jeans. Yeah. I don't like wearing dry jeans sometimes. I drove home in underwear. If a cop would have pulled me over, I would have had no pants on. I would have had.
I can't get out of the car, officer. Sorry, I'm staying in.
Well, he would have saw my boxer briefs and be like, "Why is your
I can explain. I promise you, it's not what it looks like.
What's happening right there?
Yeah,
anyone else in the car, sir?
No, it's just me. Actually, there was like 5 other guys, and they're like, "Are your pants off?" I'm like, "Dude,
what do you want from me here?
Soaking wet jeans for a 2-hour drive? No, thank you."
I will tell you from my experience that day, it is when you have to suffer through weather at that level, vitally important that your team wins. Because at least when you're wet and miserable, there's a celebratory aspect.
This is why I'm nervous.
And if you lose, it's just now you're wet and miserable and your team lost, and it's just a double whammy that's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys get the win tomorrow night. Fun trivia question I'm going to throw at you. Shohei Ohtani is the only athlete in the history of professional sports to do this. Do you know what it is?
Well, it's not be unanimous MVP because Acuna also did it.
They were both unanimous MVPs yesterday. Love baseball, by the way. Let's wait till the heat of football season. Wait till everybody's really, really got their gears up for talking about baseball, and let's announce our MVPs.
Yeah, why do they not do this at a banquet like the night before the World Series or something like that?
Let's wait till the week before Thanksgiving. It makes a lot of sense.
I didn't know Gold Gloves were given out.
Yeah,
I found that out yesterday.
Cy Young's happened earlier this week. Yeah, so we're in award season. It's great.
Who won the Cy Young?
Blake Snell and Garrett Cole.
Yeah, Mr. Tacky Spider Tack.
We couldn't do like a player on a better team than Blake Snell. Padres suck.
The Padres were pretty bad.
Sucked.
My guy was second in the NL Cy Young.
Really?
Logan Webb was number 2.
Okay. All right.
No, you're probably not going to guess this, but I saw this, and when you hear it, it's going to make sense, but it kind of blew me away. So he won his second MVP now. Shohei Ohtani has 2. He was the unanimous MVP both times he won it.
Call him Showy.
They say Showy?
Kind of sounded like you went Showy Ohtani.
Showy. Second time he's been the unanimous MVP. In the history of Major League Baseball, the NBA, National Football League, and the National Hockey League, he is the only player to ever be a unanimous MVP on a sub-500 team. And he's now done it twice.
Should both of them be unanimous? Should Mookie have taken some votes away from Ronald?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
Pretty good year.
He had a great year. Acuna was special, though.
Not
that Mookie was.
No,
but
it was over.
Have you seen the report on him, by the way, Ohtani? The report is that he's going to be doing stealth free agent visits. Nobody knows where he's going to go and when he's going to go.
And he's going to judge the spots based on how it's reported.
Invisible plane he's got working? What are we doing?
He wants a winner. He's prioritizing winning. He's going to get paid no matter where he goes. He's prioritizing winning.
Okay.
And the report is that he wants to sneak into these cities and talk to the teams, feel out the situation, and go to the next place.
If he wants to be sneaky, he's already not far from the right city, so let's go.
Well, somebody came in and said,
he can get in an undisclosed black town car and take care of business.
Someone said, I'm not really sure that a 6'4" Japanese man who looks like a horse is going to be able to sneak around these cities.
No, probably not. If you wanted to be sneaky, probably Kansas City's your best market, right? Like, how many cities could Shohei go to and not be the number 1 star in the city?
And not be the number 1 star?
Because Kansas City, you're going to have Mahomes will always be.
LA, he's not
LeBron,
the number 1 star.
I guess, yeah.
Well, Caleb, LeBron.
I mean, don't give me Caleb. Caleb's going to be gone. Shohei's a bigger deal than Caleb Williams.
Unless he ends up in LA.
Which I don't think it's going to happen, but...
No, I don't think it's possible, but I just wanted to say that to respond to you.
I think Shohei's a little bit bigger deal.
Yeah, well, right now, yes. What team do you think he's going to go to?
I've seen a lot of Cubs stuff. And I don't know if that is just wishful thinking.
I saw Blue Jays stuff yesterday, and I went, Blue Jays, really?
I mean, they got a lot of young talent. You could argue he'd be the piece to put him over the top.
The question is how much he loves being in Southern California and just wants to play for a winner because that's an easy solution with a team that does win more often than not and has enough money.
He'd prefer to not choke in the playoffs every year. I mean, he wants to get to the playoffs and win, not get to the playoffs and lose every year.
Yes.
It'd be pretty big, though. You talk about popularity. What would it be? What would it mean in sports to be an LA Dodger and help them win their first title since '88?
It'd be a big deal.
That's a massive deal.
Be a really big deal.
But
I hope you get soaked. I hope you have an 8-hour drive in wet jeans.
I'm not wearing jeans tomorrow, jackass.
Good call. Don't wear jeans.
Now we're the
rains.
tuna eating the lion.
Yeah.
That's how that went for you right there.
Backfired on you, didn't it?
I'm going to give you a hot take.
Yeah.
I think he's going to Seattle.
You think it's going to be Seattle? Talk about being the biggest star in that market. He's immediately the biggest face in that market.
Not even close.
Who's the biggest face on the Seahawks
Distant
right now?
second is DK Metcalf.
Yeah, like not even in the same
distance.
Not even in the same stadium.
No.
DK Metcalf.
No, there's nobody.
If Russ was still there, maybe you can
The
make that
Kraken
argument.
aren't
But
there yet.
no.
Nobody
God,
can
no.
name a Kraken.
Nobody can name.
Paul Legoots? Is that a name?
We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. We will spring the line coming up at 8:30. Get your fake sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. A bunch of college football, though, to get to as well as we start with Oregon State and Washington State. Christian Cable covers the Huskies. What does he make of this matchup? His thoughts on it. That's where we begin next. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Add
Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
There's glory in the legends of this hard muscle life, and there's poetry in each season made of sweat and strife.
Dirt and Sprague on Football Friday.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
All I know is you mess with me, you got problems.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app. Thanks for being with us on a Football Friday. We got a lot to get to here in the final hour of the show. Sprague and the Line coming up in a bit. Let's talk more about Oregon State and Washington, though. We're fired up, man. It's a big game in college football this weekend, a top 11 showdown in Corvallis, the last home Pac-12 game for Oregon State. And joining us now is friend of the program, Christian Capel, at Christian Capel on Twitter, on Montlake, a Substack subscription site covering the Washington Huskies, and the co-host of the Say Who, Say Pod. Christian, good morning to you, man. I imagine up in Seattle they're enjoying looking at that point spread, and so they can use the worthy underdog mantra in the locker room. What's been the feeling all week leading up to this game?
Yeah, if not the team, then certainly the fan base, right? I think everybody's always trying to look for ways that they're being doubted or disrespected. And if the number 5 college football playoff ranking wasn't enough, then certainly I think seeing the point spread and being an underdog for the first time this season. I believe the first time, maybe they were a slight underdog in the Alamo Bowl. So it's been quite a while, and yeah, that certainly sort of adds to that vibe a little bit.
Christian, they had those struggles against Arizona State and Stanford, and we obviously down here in Oregon were like, hey, well, the Huskies, the way they've looked, the way they beat these bad teams by, very thin margins. The one thing I've kind of had is like just going undefeated during the regular season is in itself a different animal. We've never had a team go undefeated in conference play, and Washington wins this week, and I think most think that they will do it because Wazoo looks like a dumpster fire right now. How do you just feel like mentally the Huskies have been through this journey where Oregon a few weeks ago, it's the Super Bowl of college football, it felt like, at least in Seattle, then a couple struggles, and then a Utah game where their defense played lights out. Where do you think mentally Washington, how they've handled this season?
Yeah, I think if anything, those close calls have kind of bolstered this belief that I think they would say they already have. But, once you've put a few of those results together, this belief that no matter how things go throughout the course of a game, that if they hang in there and keep playing, they'll find a way. Because they did it against a really, really good team, Oregon. They've done it against some not as good teams, Arizona State and Stanford, where those teams are hanging around a lot longer than anyone thought they would. And I don't know if there's another game this year that really felt like it was not going to go their way, more so than Arizona State. And I think the fact that it was their defense that bailed them out in that game, and that they've got all this empirical proof that hey, just keep playing, even when it looks like this is going to be the week you finally drop one. You've found a way every single week. So I think if anything, it's sort of just been evidence that they can draw on, experience that they can draw on, that, hey, down in the fourth quarter or the offense isn't clicking exactly right, just keep playing and eventually it'll work out, because this year it always has.
Well, where are they at? I mean, this time of year, everybody's banged up. I know Oregon State's going through some stuff on defense. Where are they at health-wise at this point in the year?
Yeah, I mean, they've been without Jalen McMillan offensively for the last several weeks. He's really, effectively only played in 2.5 games. He's been, tried to come back from a knee injury a couple times and couldn't quite go. And they got him out on the field last week against Utah for just a few snaps, no targets or anything like that. And so it seems like they're trying to build his confidence back to where they could use him again. They did get Tuli Nasanoa back, their big senior D tackle. That was really big for them. He was able to play 30 snaps against Utah and had the penetration for them on that safety in the third quarter. So, they're healthier than they've been. They're still missing some safeties. Asa Turner didn't play against Utah. Cam Fabikilanen came back and played some, but had to leave with an injury, so his status is kind of up in the air. So the back end of that defense is probably the biggest concern when it comes to injury and not having the guys that that they've got at the top of that depth chart.
Obviously, being on the road different than at home. What do you remember from the matchup last year that you're kind of putting into this game out of curiosity to see if whether it's Oregon State does something or Washington does something? What about last year's game do you kind of apply to this year's game?
Well, it sounds like the weather's going to be terrible again, so maybe that's a similarity. I remember how just it was crazy, windy and rainy, and really hard for both teams to throw the ball. I mean, I remember Oregon State having someone running wide open in the second half, and deep pass just kind of floated on them, and it was hard to complete those kind of throws. I kind of equate Oregon State's program in some ways to Utah, where you just know, regardless of the personnel or who's hurt, who's out, whatever, they're going to play really hard. They're going to be really physical. There's going to be some big hits. They're going to come into the game believing that they should win and will win, and it's just going to be a battle for four quarters. That's kind of what I remember last year, just watching Oregon State's defense, how aggressive and physical and confident they play. And then, I don't know that Washington ever really had an answer for their running game last year. They were fortunate to hold them to 21 points and made some plays when they needed to. But I'm watching that matchup too, especially on early downs. Can they get Oregon State into some obvious passing situations and not just let Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick move the chains all day?
We're talking with Christian Capel on Montlake. Go check out the Substack subscription site and the Say Who Say pod covering the Washington Huskies at Christian Capel on Twitter. On that note, defensively for Washington, how do people up there feel about them? Like, I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? When you look at a lot of the numbers and the way they played in some games, it's not great. The overall statistics don't really back up that this is a good defense.
We're a bottom tier defense.
Right. But then you look at, against Oregon, they needed 3 big plays and they came up with 3 big plays. Against USC, they got a strip sack at the end of the first half. Against Utah, you get the pick that I know they dropped at the 1-yard line, but it ends up setting up the safety. Like, what's the balance in how people feel about the defense? Is there a trust there because they come up with big plays, or is there the fear that this is the liability that will bite them?
Yeah, I think Husky fans feel better about the defense late in the fourth quarter than they do at halftime, generally, because the game plays out that way. They're not very good at not giving up yards, but until really these last few weeks, they had been better at keeping teams off the scoreboard. And now you talk about some of these games where they don't stop teams from racking up yards or scoring points, but still, like you mentioned, they find ways to make plays, or they get better throughout the game, right? They shut out Utah in the second half. They'll get an interception here or a big sack there. They do kind of pride themselves on just, hey, they know their offense is going to score a bunch of points, and they just got to make a couple more plays than the opposing defense, and they feel confident that they can do that. So, yeah, it's tackling's been a huge issue, and I don't think that they've had the success stopping the run that they probably hoped they would. I think they've been a little bit better against the pass than they were last year. It's hard to make an apples-to-apples comparison because I think they're playing against better quarterbacks overall. They didn't have to deal with Caleb Williams last season. I think their secondary is a little bit better, but then, they're dinged up at safety, so they've got some inexperience, at least at one of those spots. So, yeah, I mean, they're piecing it together. I think last year, they kind of got rolled over a bunch of times, and, opposing teams knew they could get a lot done throwing the ball against them, where at least this year there's that playmaking ability. They've got a bunch of interceptions. They pressure the quarterback a lot, if not actually sacking him all that much relative to what they did last season with the same guys. But I think they feel like they've got enough playmakers to get by and win each game. But yeah, I mean, if Washington's going to lose a game this season, I think a lot of people would look to that as the reason that it could happen.
Christian, I'm not one, and some Duck fans don't like it. I'm not particularly fond of Bo Nix as the Heisman. I think he's had a great year, deserving of being in New York.
How dare you? I know.
I think Penix and Daniels have had better seasons, and they're asked to do a little more given the structure of their team with the question we just asked you. It feels like a pretty big weekend for Penix if he's going to jump into this I think Bo Nix is a minus 200 to 250. That's a pretty sizable lead at the Heisman. What do you make of the Heisman race and how pivotal this weekend is for Michael Penix?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see it hand in hand with Washington's CFP chances in that, yeah, they're number 5 right now, but I think everybody knows if they take care of business and win, they're going to rise up, right? The data is going to work out. Ohio State and Michigan have to play each other. Going undefeated is going to require a big top 11 road win this week. It's going to require beating Oregon again on a neutral field. So they'll get there, right? And so I think with Michael Penix Jr.'s Heisman chances, it's sort of the same thing. Like, either if they're going to beat Oregon State, they're going to need a big game from him. And if they're going to go beat Oregon a second time in 2 weeks, they're going to need a really big game from him again, and it'll work itself out. So, I look at Bo Nix's numbers are hard to deny, and he's a playmaker, and he can do it more with his legs than Penix can. So, he's maybe a little bit more dynamic that way. Excuse me. But just watching this team the last 2 years, knowing what Penix means to Washington and the way he's elevated their offense and really elevated their whole program, certainly he's worthy of being right in that conversation. And we're going to get some head-to-head matchups here in these next 3 weeks that are going to determine that to some degree.
Yeah, a lot of it depends, too, just on how guys play in those big moments, in those big games, for sure. I mean, last one I got for you, Christian. I'll see if Sprague has anything else. I mean, I think we're going on, 5 straight close games. I don't like counting the Arizona game that way because they were in control that entire game, and Arizona got a touchdown late to make the final score look close. But they had a buffer most of that game. But you start with the Oregon game tight, obviously Arizona State, Stanford were the head scratchers, and then you go to USC. It's a back-and-forth game, and then we know how last week went. This, ironically, would not be viewed as an upset in Vegas because Oregon State's the favorite in the game, but it would obviously be viewed as an upset if it happens in the college football world. Just how do you think it plays out tomorrow in Corvallis?
Yeah, when I do my official picks or whatever, I'm probably going to pick Washington by 6 or 7. I do think that this is a team that just kind of finds a way, and they're experienced in that, even dating to last year, right? You look at their performance in close games. They had the 2 losses against UCLA and ASU, and they've won 17 games since then. And face this Oregon State program. Obviously, they're different teams on both sides of the ball, but I think their offensive line is playing really well right now. I think they've figured out their running game. I mean, that's maybe an overlooked factor, right? Everybody has kind of taken Washington's offense for granted that it's just going to be really good week in, week out, but I think it's improved. I think Dylan Johnson has kind of given them a different element to take advantage of maybe some of the lighter boxes they've seen as a result of their passing game, loosening defenses up. So I think they're going to continue that. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think there's going to be some points scored, and I think it'll be decided in the fourth quarter, but I do think Washington gets it done.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring that up, but I'm glad. I mean, he addressed it. The offensive line and the running game, it feels like the last 2 to 3 weeks has really kind of figured something out here. And we've always, when we talk about Washington, you mentioned the balance. It's largely been, hey, Penix, do it all. And it feels like, at least the last couple games, the offense has been able to lean on Dylan Johnson and say, we're going to need you to carry this for like 2 quarters. And having that for a team like Washington it's vital.
That balance is there, man. I can't wait. What a game. Christian Capo, go check out On Montlake, the Substack subscription site covering the Huskies. Is as good as anybody out there day in and day out. Say Who, Say Pod, a great podcast covering Washington football at Christian Capo on Twitter. We always enjoy the time, man. Thanks for coming on the show, and have fun in rainy Corvallis tomorrow, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Oh, I will. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Christian Capo on Washington and Oregon State.
I mean, whether you think anybody's a homer or not, I don't think he's a homer. I think he covers the program. I think he's making a good point, though. Like, they do in every game they've been in where it's tight, like they just have found a way.
They find a way to make a play.
It's weird. Like, all the stats say Oregon should have won that game. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't.
Inside the 10-yard line twice, and a 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. You couldn't get a first down.
Arizona State, people are sick. You can't score a touchdown. Boom, pick 6 when you need it the most. Stanford, you got kind of lucky with the dropped catch on
that one
down.
Wasn't the making the play thing. Yeah,
but still, like, you find something goes your way or you find a way. There's a resilience involved with that. So
for sure,
can't really blame him for picking Washington to win the game.
And I also get that as the season goes on and you keep surviving week in and week out, that's the belief of, like, every time we're close, if we're down, if we're in a tight ball game, like, we're gonna find a way to win. I think the outside the bubble mentality is like, is that really the way you want to live week in and week out? Because you were on a razor thin edge that it feels like you could teeter at any moment, but they believe up there, and I can't blame them, man. You keep finding ways to win. I'd probably feel the same way if I were a
that
Husky
running
fan.
game scares the hell out of me. I think that running game, watch that running game tomorrow. That's the interesting thing here. That running game gets going again. I mean, it's just hard to beat that team when they're balanced like that.
There is no doubt Oregon State rush defense on the year, 5th in the conference.
It's not bad.
Not terrible, but
the way Washington is run blocking right now, and Dylan Johnson's a beast.
He is, man.
You go for like 150 tomorrow, 175, 180, what Oregon State did last year to them. If they can do that in Reeser, they're going to be there at the end with either a shot to win it or in control of the game.
I got a couple more thoughts on this game with big one tomorrow in Corvallis. Your thoughts are welcome, as always, on the Vancouver Ford text line, which is 503-864-6326. You can hit us up on the YouTube chat and tell me how much of a duck honk I am. I always enjoy it. We'll get to Sprague in the line at the bottom of the hour. Get your fake sponsors in. We are back after this talking more college football next on The Fan.
make you groove.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, a lot of thoughts rolling in. I wanted to ask quickly before we culminate our opinions on Oregon State and Washington. Cannot wait tomorrow. The schedule could not have set up any better. I would like to thank the college football gods. I got an early morning pregame show, home to watch the Ducks. That game will be settled and over by the time Oregon State and Washington begin at 4:30.
You don't even have to drive down to Eugene.
Don't have to go anywhere. Thank the gods. I'm going to be able to watch that entire thing from start to finish.
Yeah.
Do we sniff any up? We do this every Friday. I like asking the question. I'm going to ask it again as I always do. By the way, happy SEC bye week to everybody. Alabama's playing Chattanooga this week. It's that week in the SEC. Ole Miss is playing UL Monroe.
Oh, that's tough.
Mississippi State's playing Southern Miss.
Yeah.
Texas A&M is playing Abilene Christian.
Who's Missouri playing? Because they'll probably get vaulted up 2 spots.
Missouri's got Florida this weekend. Circle that. I could see an upset. I'm sniffing an upset there. Just remember that.
That would be the most hilarious outcome.
Would it not?
If they lost to Florida.
And they'll only drop 1 spot.
Yeah, it'd be 8-3. Drop to number.
They'll be like
10.
18 or something. Yeah.
Arkansas is playing Florida International. LSU's playing Georgia State. So shout out to our SEC brethren who are really challenging themselves this weekend. I'm just going to throw a couple at you. You can throw them right back if you want. Louisville on the road at Miami I have circled. I don't think Louisville's that good. Miami's got talent. I would not be shocked at all if Louisville loses.
The problem with Miami is they lost their quarterback last weekend to Florida State with a horrific arm injury.
Yeah, now their other starter's back. So their starter.
Van Dyke sucks.
Yeah, well, I think Mario sucks, but yeah.
No.
Coaching quarterback.
I don't disagree with the offensive take, but if you go look at Tyler Van Dyke from 2 years ago to this year, it has been a huge drop. By the way, Trust Tree, I'm probably going to DVR the Duck game.
That's all right.
If I see an outcome that's 52-10, 45-13, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to watch.
It's totally acceptable.
Is that okay?
That's totally acceptable.
You can just fill me in on Monday.
I'll give you all the details. Ty Thompson's going to look amazing. I'm going to talk about it for a half hour.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure we're in the Trust Tree here, and, you know.
I just watched the condensed version of Oregon State-Stanford because that was me for this weekend. I missed the Oregon State-Stanford, and I was like, all right, that's a blowout. But I wanted to see the highlights and see how guys played. Georgia on the road at Tennessee. The line is only 10 in this game.
No.
Okay. All right. I'm just
when
throwing
Georgia
them out.
needs it, Georgia has it.
Why is Tennessee still ranked 18th?
I mean, they're 8-3 or 7-3. Where would you rank? Are they outside the top 10?
I don't know. Who have they beaten?
Who in the Pac-12 has 3 losses and isn't ranked?
I don't
have that team.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
Utah has 3 losses. No, 4 now, I think. Hold on. Now you're going to
Utah's 3.
Utah's
3.
And they are still ranked. Arizona has 3 and they're ranked.
Yeah, 22.
USC has 4.
USC has 4.
That's
so
right.
all of our 3-loss teams are ranked.
Okay, so make sure we're getting respect.
Just point that out.
I want our respect, okay?
Well, like I see your opinion. Tennessee's not very good, but they're not like Tennessee is Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, good. I don't want to, they could beat you if they bring their A game.
And then being ahead Arizona is kind of lining up with what college football largely has been for 30 years. It's SEC first.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. And let's see, anything else? Texas on the road at Iowa State. That's another one people have circled.
That's the one.
That's the one you like?
I'm circling that one.
Okay.
Texas has kind of done the Washington thing. They've played with fire a little bit. They've been close in these games. They just blew a massive lead last weekend to TCU.
Back-to-back weeks. Kansas State and TCU in back-to-back weeks.
20 points in that game. I changed the channel. I'm like, well, this one's a dud.
And they're starting Quinn Ewers was back last week, too.
He was. Iowa State, I don't think Iowa State's that good, but I read an article yesterday in the Des Moines Register about the scenarios that Iowa State is still in play here for the Big 12 title game and how many people don't know that. And if they win this weekend, they're right there near the front of the line, if not being able to do it. It's in Iowa State. Texas might ultimately beat them with the talent, but
let's go Cyclones, dude. I want to see that win.
I do too. I think it's hilarious.
Super Bowl. Last time Texas is ever going to go to Ames, Iowa. They will never play that game again.
I mean, that's a very good point. Yes.
You'll never see that game
again.
again.
Very similar to Washington and Oregon State.
Yeah, it's like, is Washington ever going to go back to Corvallis?
No, why would
not.
you?
You might get the Oregon State game rescheduled at some point, but Washington's not signing up for that. Like, no, thank you. What is the biggest matchup or the big? I mean, I know you brought up DJ. Is that the biggest one you circled this weekend? If Oregon State is to win, X needs to happen. It's DJ needs to play well.
No, I actually think it's defensively.
I think it's the secondary.
I think it's the defensive line. I think you have to get pressure on Penix, and you have to slow this running game down, man. Go look at Dylan Johnson's box score game logs. And yes, USC is on that, so maybe there's an asterisk for you. He still ran for 200 yards. I think he is a really talented player. I think he should probably be in a conversation. The problem is Their offensive line for most of the year has not been great, and they have struggled to run the football. But I noted it about Oregon. That 100 yards he rushed for against the Ducks was maybe the most underrated stat. And the last couple weeks, it feels like they've kind of figured this out. If they can run the ball in Oregon State and that pass rush doesn't get to Penix and put any pressure on him, I'm kind of with Christian, and I'll be wearing orange. But it's hard to see Oregon State being able to beat them if you're not slowing those two things down.
Swag, biggest key for you? You think secondary?
I think it's the secondary. I think they have to make sure that an 8-yard slant to Roma Dunze is only an 8-yard play and not a 88-yard play.
So hard. He's so good. Dude.
I know.
He's unbelievable.
I mean, that's just why I kind of go to the other side of the ball, because I just like Washington's offense is so good. Like, you're not going to stop them. You're just not. Like, they're going to hit big plays. They're going to score on you. If you're going to kill Washington, if you're going to be the team that finally dethroned them from the undefeated season, I think it has to be on the other side of the ball. It has to be your offense just being unstoppable. And then the other aspect of it, DJ's numbers are great this year. He's played really good football the last handful of weeks. I would not like to see one of those highlights that everybody posted from the Stanford game where he's fading away 50 yards across his body.
That was unbelievable.
He has unbelievable arm strength. Please don't ever do that again, because you should never do that in a football game. I know it was a touchdown, but please, for the love of God, don't do that this weekend. Don't turn the football over, and I think you have a chance to score on almost all of your drives. He has not thrown a pick, by the way, since the Utah game.
Oh, really?
He has not thrown a pick since Utah.
I mean, goes back to the original point. If we beat Washington and Oregon didn't, we jump Oregon in the standings, don't we? We beat Utah, too. So,
come on, that's how it works.
Just 1 + 1.
We beat the Cougs, though, so we got that going for us.
Well, you got the bad Cougs. We had the good Cougs.
Okay, you got the good Coug.
You got the Coug that got in a fight with a grizzly bear. We played the fresh baby cougar that was hungry.
Yeah.
That's a different cougar.
All right, let's Sprague the line. Get your fake sponsors.
Damn it, that loss looks awful, man.
As the weeks go on, it does not
that
look
team
good.
is so bad. I'm so pissed off.
Hey, by the way, we're not going to get to it probably to close up the show. Go Cougs tonight, dude. Last home game for them in the Pac-12 is tonight. This is it for them. Their Pac-12 run comes to an end tonight. Dion Prime is in town. It's going to be freezing in Pullman, 32 degrees and clear.
Yeah.
Come on.
Kind of root for Colorado.
Why would you root for Colorado?
I love Coach Brown.
This is your Pac-2.
I've been eating almonds all year. What do you get
matter with
My
you?
health kick knows no bounds. I need more almonds. Deion Sanders, I need you in my life. Give me those shades, baby.
Ashamed of you.
Give me those shades.
All right, let's Sprague the line. Get your fake sponsors in 503-864-6326. We'll gamble next. First, your Swag.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on the Fan. Well, the Ducks and Beavers need wins this weekend to set up their final meeting next week in Eugene, with a trip to the Pac-12 title game still in play. Number 6 Oregon goes to the desert. They take on Arizona State. 1 o'clock kick. You'll hear it right here on the Fan. Our live pregame coverage starting at 7 a.m. Ducks currently 23.5-point favorites. In Corvallis, 4:30 ABC primetime national game on KATU Channel 2. Number 11 Oregon State, number 5 and undefeated Washington for the last time in the foreseeable future. Beavs currently 2-point favorites. It was a double whammy for Bengals fans Thursday night. They got run over by the Ravens 34-20, and they may have lost their quarterback, Joe Burrow, for quite some time. Suffered what appears to be a sprained wrist. Left the game in the second quarter, did not return. Blazers and Lakers in an in-season NBA tournament game tonight from Moda Center. 7 o'clock tip. Portland trying to end a 5-game losing streak. Lakers 8.5-point favorites at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Here on the Fan tonight, it's college hoops. The Oregon Ducks welcome the Tennessee State Tigers to Matt Knight Arena. 6 o'clock tip. Our pregame coverage starts at 5:30 following primetime. Ducks 18.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Live, local, and free. No subscription
AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination, because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan.
Sprague in the line. Sprague in the line. Sprague in the line. Sprague in the line.
Sprague in the Line is brought to you by Ricky Bobby. Just like Brandon Sprague, I wake up in the morning and I pee excellence.
Shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake.
Sprague in the Line brought to you by Danny Marang's injury history. Still less painful than betting a Sprague pick.
I actually don't think that's possible.
Yeah, you won't tear in hamstrings betting a Sprague pick.
He got in yesterday, though. I was happy he got in. Got out of the house.
Sprague in the Line brought to you by Costco Vultures. Our lives aren't miserable enough, so we spend large units on these picks. Sprague in the Line brought to you by MySpace. Sprague's gambling advice was so insufferable that even Tom wouldn't be his friend. Tom wouldn't be your guy, huh? Wouldn't be in your top 8?
Smartest guy of all time. $500 million to get out of the game.
What a genius. Nobody's heard from that guy in 20 years.
No.
He just disappeared. Sprague in the Line brought to you by Payless Shoes. With Whiteout, you can have the Adidas Superstars, kind of like the Mountain West Conference when they rebranded the Pac-12.
Oh.
Sprague in the Line brought to you by No Pants Sprague. Finally something more disappointing than a Sprague pick.
Sir, where's your unit?
Where's your pants?
It's cold, officer.
I was in the pool. Sprague in the Line brought to you by Gay, Dirt, and Sprague. Just like these picks, it's a little confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, a little confusing. Sprague in the Line brought to you by the Costco parking lot. If you waited for a spot as long as you waited for a Sprague pick to hit, then you'd have to charge your AA battery in your car. Hashtag park in the back. Sprague in the Line brought to you by waiting for a close spot at Costco. A waste of time, just like a Sprague pick.
Yeah, that's touche.
All right, here's what happened last week. Look, I was emasculated by Ken Barkley yesterday, which led to me cussing on the air, which I may or may not have done.
Nah, that didn't happen.
Depending on who you ask.
No.
I'm on a nice little streak here. I would like to point that out. I was mocked and ridiculed for basically half that segment yesterday. I'm having a good little run. I'm having a good little year, and I just want to protect my honor and my integrity. Here's how we did last week. I went 3-0. I hit on the 49ers against the Jags. The Jets Raiders under of 37, and the Bucks at home -1 against the Titans. Sprague had a kiss your sister week, 1-1-1. You lost on the Falcons against the Cardinals.
Don't get me started on that game.
You had a push in the Lions and Chargers.
Unbelievable that was a push. They should have won that game by 10.
Which, by the way, that's our first push of Sprague in the Line this year. We hadn't had one until that.
Tush push.
And then you nailed the Cowboys, laying the big one against the Giants.
Get out of here.
Swigard whiffed on Arizona -10 against Colorado. You whiffed on the Bengals -6.5 against the Texans.
I felt good for you for that first tud, and then they just didn't do anything after that.
Nothing after that. You hit on the Chargers and Lions over 48.5. So 1-2 weekend for Swag. Here we go. Season records. I am 22-11. Sprague is 15-17-1. And Swag is now 13-20. So that's where we're at. Let's go to this week.
What's Swag's record?
13-20.
Yikes.
13-20.
Swag, what happened?
I mean, this has kind of been a year-long thing. It's kind of prolonged, you know.
Bengals happened.
It's like being Jimbo Fisher. Like, are we expecting different results at this point?
Where's my buyout?
Did you just call him the Jimbo Fisher of Sprague in the Line?
Did you guys, by the way, see his post-game speech from Saturday?
No.
The most depressing. I know I'm getting fired.
Did you think he knew?
Did you watch his speech?
I didn't.
Go watch his speech, and then you'll know, yep, he knew he was getting fired. It was like, we got to send the seniors out on a win, and, make sure you work hard this week, and, I'm real proud of you guys, and let's go A&M. Here we go. All right, here we go. Pick number 1. I was emasculated. I'm sticking to my guns, baby. Dorian Thompson-Robinson sucks. He's not an NFL quarterback. We saw that one time against a pretty good defense in Baltimore. They couldn't move the ball at all in that game. Look, the under might hit. This is an Iowa-level under, but Kenny Pickett at least can function. Is he good? No, but he can function. And he has George Pickens to throw the ball to. I love the Steelers. They're now getting a 1.5. I'll take it. Steelers +1.5 against the Browns.
I'm probably going to end up betting against that pick this weekend. DTR has played one game in his career.
And it was awful.
He was told on Friday he was playing on a Sunday as a rookie.
He was told on a Thursday this week, and I don't think it's going to matter much.
Okay, all right. We got a show game going on.
Little 5'5" Dorian Thompson-Robinson does nothing to scare me.
Well, that defense should. Okay, let's I go with favorites this weekend. I like some favorites.
So do I.
I'm going to go to a primetime matchup, the Kelce Bowl.
Oh.
I'm getting less than a field goal. I get Pat Mahomes at home, less than a field goal. Defense for Philly, not as good statistically this year. They've fallen off a little bit. Philly can move the ball, but I like that Kansas City defense. and it's Patrick Mahomes with less than a field goal, I'm in. I'll take the Chiefs minus 2.5.
I will start in college football. Now that Jim Harbaugh and Michigan have ended their thing, they can get on and focus about winning a national championship.
By the way,
teams that thought that they could play offense when they go play Michigan find out otherwise. I will lay 19.5 for the Wolverines.
Can anybody in the Big Ten play offense?
They fired a coach this morning, and there's indication that coach was tied to Stallions. So I bet you they took this suspension because there's probably some vague language in a text somewhere.
Of course there
the
is.
big guy needs the signal.
Get him the
It has to be what happened.
I'm going to shift off. I love that Kansas City pick, but I don't like doubling up, so I'm going to change that up. I'm going to lay some wood this weekend.
19.5 Michigan?
19.5 at Maryland this weekend. I like some big wood games. Who doesn't like big wood on the weekend? Everybody likes big wood. Give me some big wood.
Today I'm laying the big wood.
I'm going to follow your lead from last weekend. The Panthers have a rookie quarterback. Their offense can't score on anybody. Dallas loves beating up on bad teams to the point where now we're like talking about Dak Prescott as an MVP candidate.
Oh, yeah.
Like, here we go. The Cowboys are for real. But look at that. They beat the Giants twice. Here we go. But you know what? The Carolina Panthers are awful at football. The Frank Reich play calling thing has been a disaster. Bryce Young is going to get eaten alive, maybe decapitated in this game. And I love the Cowboys minus 10.5 on the road at Carolina.
I got to find another pick.
Poor Bryce Young.
Oh, you like Cowboys too?
I love that. We sometimes,
you can double up. Swigard, you're standing, you can double up.
Okay.
Wow. What does that mean?
He's 13-20. Maybe drafting off me will help.
Sized up for a white caddy outfit here.
Anything can help at this point.
I'm going to go. My next game is an afternoon one. Look, you guys, you know this better than anybody in the world. I love to complain. I love to bitch and moan when my pick isn't going well in the first quarter with 7 minutes to go.
You're the survivor pool, one touchdown, and you're like, oh, God, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm panicking at all times. And there's a bit of the end of Pulp Fiction in me. I love to be punished, and I love it bad. Vikings at Broncos, let's ride. -2, Broncos beating the Pastronaut. I am going to hate that I picked this game.
Yes, you are.
But I'm going to be living on the edge the entire way until they kick that game-winning field goal.
We have one Bronco fan who is a P1, and he always complains we don't ever give the Broncos credit.
Last weekend.
We don't love Russell Wilson.
We picked him on Monday night. What do you mean?
I mean, they were luckier in hell to win that game, and they probably shouldn't have, but that's besides
they
the
covered
point.
the number.
All right. So
my second pick, Cowboys. I'll lay the 10.5 too.
Okay, he likes the Cowboys as well. I'm going to lay some one more final piece of wood here before my picks are done. This is a team that I think is the best in the NFL. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, hello.
I bought some tickets on it when they lost 3 games in a row, and now it's looking even better. They're back at home. They're healthy, and I think when they play the way they played last weekend, there's nobody in the National Football League that can beat them. The 49ers are at home, laying less than 2 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield cannot score on that defense. The Bucs are incredibly inconsistent. They're going on the road. I love the 49ers to win by 2 tutties. Lay me some wood. 49ers -12 at home against the Bucs.
You thought me having the first push of the season was funny. Get ready for the second one here, baby, because I'm going with a team that definitely is going to disappoint me.
Push
but again,
push it real good.
Push it real good. Chargers -3
Oh, God, don't
in
do
Green
it.
Bay.
Why are
Let's
you doing
do
that to
this?
yourself? Why?
Dude.
Would you do that to yourself?
I mean, no disrespect to the people. We need people to stop attaching their entire identity to sports teams, so I say this nicely. The Packers suck.
They're really bad.
They're so bad.
They're really bad.
They're so bad. Their coach stinks. The quarterback's very mediocre to bad. I'll take Herbert and the Chargers to kind of get some revenge from last weekend's letdown. I think they go into Lambeau. I think Justin has 3 tuds.
You're tempting fate right
This
there.
is going to work out the same way it did last week. I'm on the same game, but in a different capacity because, yes, the Chargers offense should go up and down Lambeau and find the end zone many, many, many times. But that high-paid defense under the expert tutelage of Brandon Staley always finds ways to allow the opponent to stay in the game. So once again, I'm going to take the over of 44 points.
The over of 44.
What is the weather in Lambeau?
I think it's supposed to be fine.
I don't think
chilly
it matters
and sunny.
because the field's heated underneath.
That is a good point.
Oh, I always forget that.
Yeah, they got those coils and drainage and all sorts of stuff.
All right, here we go. Season standings. I'm 22-11 this weekend. I'm on Steelers +1.5 against the Browns, the Cowboys -10.5 against the Panthers, and the 49ers -12 against Tampa. Sprague season standing 15-17-1. He is on Kansas City -2.5 on Monday Night Football. The Broncos -2.5 on Sunday Night Football.
I got 2.
2, excuse me. Which one was 2? Kansas City Broncos? Okay. Broncos -2, correct that. And then the Chargers -3 in Green Bay. Swag on the year 13-20. He is on Michigan -19.5 at Maryland. The Cowboys laying the wood against the Panthers -10.5. And the Chargers and Packers over of 44. Sprague the line is brought to you by a large hypothetical spread in the 23 Civil War, because winning a Sprague pick is even more unlikely than Oregon State winning in Eugene next weekend.
You wait with that 11.5 points, baby. You wait.
You sound confident. I don't think you need any points. We'll go straight up.
I was confident with
Let's
the points.
wrap it up on a Football Friday next on the Fan.
Down goes Danny.
No Danny Meringue. Officially, let's
$75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, Friday, Friday, getting down on Friday.
This is a Football Friday edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan.
There you go, fist bumping your way into the weekend every single Friday.
Grinding my gears. I got people on the text line telling me I'm a disgrace Oregon State grad because I don't want to root for Washington State.
I think at this point I'm more of a Beaver than you are. Confident in your team tomorrow. I'm rooting for the Cougs tonight. I think I'm an honorary Beaver for the weekend.
You're not rooting for a different team than your team. You're a disgrace. What a loser comment.
We do get Pac-12 After Dark tonight.
$22,680. You can shut the F up. I'll root for whoever I want.
All paid off now, right?
Paid it all off.
Hell yeah, brother.
Well,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
still paying Oregon State right now for
what?
Paxton.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How much is left on that tab?
He went to the Ben one too.
He did.
We're paying as we go. So
that's how you gotta do it.
no debt will be, but I think he's got like one or two more classes in the winter term, and then he's done.
Beaver fans are chiming in. 19 straight runs, bet straight up. I agree. I mean, you won the game last year. I don't know what you're hiding from.
Boys, I'm going to Reno. You want me to place any bets
I don't know
for
what
you?
you're hiding from.
If you, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
I already got my Beaver bets, or my Beaver bets. Now I'm thinking about the Beavers. My Duck bets in. I put a bet on them in March to win the national title, not thinking it would win. And now I'm like, hey, all right, at least it's still alive. And
I thought you said nobody's giving you a shot.
Nobody's giving us a chance. And then I got a bet on Bo to win the Heisman.
That one looks like it might cash.
I totally forgot about those because you can bet college on your DraftKings app when you're in Arizona.
Yeah.
And this will be a fun case study of if you cash those bets. It still shows up.
It should hit your account.
Shows up in my app.
Yeah, should hit your account.
Now, they have to happen in order for me to figure this out, but that is still to come. I can't wait, dude. I know tomorrow's not a great day of college football. There's a lot of dud games, but usually those are the weekends that you end up getting like, ooh, are you watching this? You see what happened with this? And then we get Oregon State and Washington, man, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait to experience it either. Hopefully the weather's not as bad as it's being made out to be today. I hate bad weather, but bad weather may also be a positive for Oregon State.
I think that helps Oregon State.
It has to, right? I mean, it has to. If it's windy and rainy, it has
Clear
to.
and no rain.
You guys are
Kentucky's not
Beavers.
getting touched.
You build dams. This is what Beavers do.
The wind helps more than the rain. If that wind can kick up.
You going Penix noodle arm, huh? Can't cut the ball through the wind.
This happened at the Utah game in the first half. He had a lot of throws go high.
Oh.
He puts a little loft on his
when you're with the wind, I think he'll sail it over people.
Right.
Right. Well, we'll get a full report on Monday of the atmosphere in Corvallis. Good luck to my Beaver brethren tomorrow. I'm kind of in a win-win here. If Oregon wins, I'm kind of in a win-win. If Oregon State wins, it ups the ante for the Civil War next week. If Oregon State wins.
If Oregon State loses, I get more points.
No, that's not straight up. Don't be a
We're not doing straight up.
Blazers playing a cup game tonight. Nobody cares. Go Cougs tonight against Colorado. I'm rooting for you, Cougs. Thinking of my Coug brethren. Go Cougs. There you go. Good little show.
Trying to be friends with everybody. You're
I love you all. I love you all. Okay? I love everybody. Except for Iowa. Iowa sucks, and you shouldn't play football anymore.
Bet the under.
There. We'll talk to you Monday at 6 a.m. Thanks for being a part of our Friday, everybody. Colin is next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm Trista Crick with BetQL. The Miami Dolphins host the Las Vegas Raiders coming off of a bye week, and it's my favorite game of the week. Vegas has the Fins as a 13.5-point favorites, and my lord, do I love that number. Twice this year they've been double-digit favorites, and twice they've covered easily. Miami is a team that loves